will be opening the meeting with a brief moment of silence or prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag. No one is required to participate or be present for any of these, and being in this portion of the meeting is completely voluntary. This evening, I do believe Ms. Rosales has some special guests.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Today, we're going to have the pledge, and it's going to be led by a couple students from Brown's Chapel. I would like for them to come over here and stand by the podium. Their names are Ellie Rosales, Fadas Amin, and Ahalam Amin. Will you stand with us as we lead the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you bow your heads with me as we pray? Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us. Lord, as we gather here together, I pray, God, that you give each one of us here a clear mind, but most importantly, wisdom and discernment as we're about to make some major decisions that are impacting so many families. I also pray, Lord, a special prayer request for the Sullivan family as they continue to grieve the loss of their child. I pray that, God, that you give them comfort, but most of all, give them peace beyond understanding. I also pray, Lord, for the students, the seniors that are about to graduate from high school. Lord, I just pray as they walk down the aisle and and they're about to get their diplomas. I pray that as they walk out the door, I pray over them, Jeremiah 29:11. For it says that you have the plans for them. They're good plans, and not to curse them, but to bring them blessings, Lord. So I pray that over them, and then in your son's name, I pray all these things. Amen.
Amen.
We have the agenda before us. Do we have any comments or questions regarding the agenda? Yes. Oh, no, that has been moved. So sorry. We are going to have a special presentation, but it's going to be at Rutherford Proud. So everyone's got the agenda in front of them. Any questions or comments regarding the agenda? If not,
We don't vote today. It's a work session.
you're practicing. I got you. You'll be ready. Next, we have the consent agenda. Take it. Yes, Sullivan has some.
We'll have two additional, at least, nepotism approvals. One is for an employee at John Coleman, Jennifer Nolan. She's an EA. Her sister works at the school as a teacher. And then a Kimberly Whitehead for a cafeteria manager position at McFadden, and her sister is a cafeteria member at campus school, which serves as a satellite because we don't actually cook food at campus school. So we'll assign someone else as that direct supervisor, but I'll add those both to the agenda for Thursday, and those came in today, so that's what's not there.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from anyone?
Yeah, I've got one on the, I just got clarification on the fees. Again, we've talked about this before. Who dictates the cost of those fees? And some of them approved for no fees, and who determines that? Just the principals of the schools?
Mr. Vaughn, so some of the groups that we don't charge fees are community members that either do an in-kind agreement with the school or have had long-standing community relationships with the schools. So sometimes those will be listed as no fees.
I just wondered, it seems like there's some that are charged at some schools and other schools there aren't. You know, it just, I don't know, I just wonder for my own sake whether, you know, like when they use the facilities, you know, it just seems like that if they use the school itself, it seems like there should be a fee charge for use the restrooms and all that type of thing.
Anything else? Okay. Next, we come to Rutherford Proud.
Okay, Ms. Marshall is going to lead this first part. And Dr. Pilgrim, everybody hear me say doctor? She graduated.
Congratulations, Tyra.
Thank you very much. Well, tonight I have the awesome honor to introduce you to some incredible organizations transforming the lives of students across the country. Career and technical student organizations. We have Skills USA, DECA, FFA, FCCLA, TSA, and HOSA. And though each of these focuses on different career pathways, they all share a mission: empowering students through leadership, competition, and life-changing opportunities. So let's go ahead and begin with Skills USA. It's an organization for students in trade, technical, and service careers. From welding and carpentry to culinary arts and robotics, members compete in skills-based events, earn certifications, and even line up jobs before graduation. So I would like first to introduce Laverne High School Information Technology Skills USA.
Good evening. My name is Joshua Love. I am a senior at Laverne High School, and I am the current state champion for telecommunications cabling. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I am a junior at Laverne High School. I am state champion for information technology services. That's it.
I'm Jamia Elliott. I'm a junior at Laverne High School, and I was elected to serve as Skills USA's State Secretary for the 2025 to 2026 academic school year.
Thank you. Now I would like to introduce the Laverne High School Audiovisual Production Skills USA.
Good afternoon. My name is Ronald Miguel. I competed for audio production in Skills USA and won third place. It was a very fun moment. It was my first time competing and my last time, as I will graduate this year.
Hello, my name is Miris Woodson. I also competed in audio production and got third place. It was really fun.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Rockville Skills USA.
Hi, my name is Kate Rivette. I am a senior at Rockville High School, and we competed in entrepreneurship at Skills USA and got third place.
My name is Zoe Helcher. I'm also a senior at Rockville High School, and I competed in entrepreneurship as well and got third.
I am Sophia Warmack. I am a senior, and I participated in entrepreneurship and got third place.
Thank you. Now we would like to hear from Oakland High School Skills USA Mechatronics.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vance Hutchings. While we're wheeling in our competition, I want to talk about a guy that couldn't make it here tonight. His name's Samuel Dowling. He is a member of our associates program at Oakland High School, and he competed in electronics technology, which is basically wiring up circuits and soldering and that kind of thing. He's actually graduating from Motlow tonight, so they're having their graduation, so he couldn't join us. But he took first in state, so just a little shout out to him.
Hey, my name is Sophie Frisbee. I'm a junior at Oakland High School, and my partner and I competed in commercial SUAS drones in Skills USA, and we got first. My part of the competition was to give verbal commands to Bennett while he was blindly navigating with a drone through an obstacle course.
I'm Bennett Payne. I was the remote pilot in command for the competition, and my part was basically just to stand facing away from the arena and pilot the drone, listen to our commands, and complete a series of tasks, and then also to plan a flight plan from Colorado Springs to Denver International.
Hello, I'm back again. Vance Hutchings, as you heard. So this is our arcade machine, and it's fully operational, so you can play all the classic games on it. So it started as a concept we came up with in January. We just wanted to do something that would be fun, but we still had to do an innovation for it. And so we have the structural design on this, where basically we had to use our CAD software, and we CAD'd up the entire thing from the ground up in like a 3D printing software. And then from that, we made it out of wood. So from concept to structure, we were able to build the entire thing. So now I'm going to hand it over to Nick Bradford, and he's going to talk about the programming and the pneumatics on the inside.
So for the programming, we used a Raspberry Pi and then downloaded all the ROMs, so all the separate games from the internet onto the Raspberry Pi, therefore being able to access all the games. And then for the pneumatics, we have a pneumatics locking mechanism. It is safer than an electronic locking mechanism because if it comes unplugged or anything like that, instead of having a shock to a little kid or somebody that's trying to service it, it will just have a splash of air in your face, preventing any serious injuries. And then Clark Edge did all of our cosmetic and aesthetic designs.
I'm Clark, and whenever we first started this idea, we had to think of the most iconic video game characters. So on top, you can't see it, but we have the Galaga spaceship, and on this side, we have Shredder from the Ninja Turtles. On the other side, we have, Vance is going to turn it around, we have Ryu from Street Fighter. And back on the front, we have Donkey Kong, along with the manual for all of our buttons, and we just have different 3D printed game references like that Pizza Slice, the Ninja Turtles, sewer grate, or manhole cover, that's what I meant, sorry. And we had a lot of fun doing this. This was 4 months of our time, and we're doing it over again.
That's awesome.
We're going to national.
Good. Do y'all have any programs for board members to on the board? Y'all got a program in there to help us make decisions?
They could probably write something, I don't know. All right, next we're going to move on to DECA. DECA focuses on business, marketing, finance, and entrepreneurship. And the DECA members pitch business plans, business leadership skills, and travel to state and international conferences. And it's not uncommon for them to get scholarships, internships, and even small businesses under their belt. So first up, we are going to hear from Eagleville DECA.
Hi, my name is Cade Wilson. I'm with Eagleville DECA. So we just returned from ICDC, which is held in Orlando, Florida. And I had the opportunity to compete with Mallory in travel, tourism, team decision making.
Hi, I'm Mallory, and we competed at the state and international level and placed at state.
Hello, my name is Coco Von Pocti. I'm a freshman at Eagleville, and I competed in retail merchandising, and I competed at SCDC and qualified for ICDC.
Hi, my name is Lawson Latta, and I competed in Principles of Entrepreneurship and qualified in state and made it to the international level at ICDC. I'm a freshman at Eagleville.
Next, we have Oakland DECA.
Hi, my name is Addison Lindley. I am a senior at Oakland High School and also the co-president of Oakland High School's DECA. My partner, Eris Quillan, and I competed in the Integrated Marketing Campaign event where we had to make an event and then market it. We got second place and qualified for nationals.
Hello, I'm Sophie James. I'm a senior at Oakland High School. I'm also the other co-president of the OHS DECA chapter. I've competed in DECA for 3 years under the Automotive Services Marketing Service campaign, and I've qualified for internationals for 2 years in a row now.
Next, we will hear from Rockville DECA.
Hi everybody, my name is Paxton Holder and I'm a junior at Rockville High School. Me and my partner DJ competed in the school-based enterprise food operations research event and we placed 7th place overall.
Good evening, I'm DJ McCullough. I'm a senior at Rockville High School. Yes, like Paxton said, we did school-based enterprise food operations, which was a part of DECA's many different events we could have chose from, and that event actually took us straight to ICDC, so we skipped state, and we placed 7th place in the ICDC. And here's one of our medals, and Paxton's wearing another one, so.
All right, next we're going to hear from our friends from FFA. It is now a leadership powerhouse for careers in agriculture, animal science, and environmental systems. Members travel to conventions and competitions nationwide, building skills in public speaking, sustainability, teamwork, and far beyond the farm. So let's hear from Oakland FFA.
Good afternoon. I'm Gina Stewart, one of 5 advisors at Oakland High School. Tonight, we just want to really say thank you to all of you for supporting us and being a part of what we do. We have great administrators, and this is a great county to work in because you support career and technical education, so we really appreciate that. All of our students who were state winners couldn't be here tonight, so we're going to talk about just a few of them who couldn't be here. I have the opportunity to talk about Lucas Carlton. He's a state winner in his FFA proficiency that's in diversified agriculture. He works on his family's cattle farm. He also works at Tennessee Farmers Cooperative, and he has a forage operation. So he also bales and cuts hay all across the county. So he's a state winner, and he will be representing us at nationals. He's already graduated, so we're excited to see how that goes. So he's one of the state winners for Oakland tonight.
I'm James Scott, and I can't reiterate what Gina said enough. We thank you guys so much. I'm one of the other advisors at Oakland High School, and I have the privilege to talk about Emma Goff. She was our state winner in Agri-Science Social Systems Division 3. She could not be here tonight. She did a study on looking at cultivated meat products and the perceptions on legislation surrounding those products. She won state last year and did a extension of that product this year, still looking at the same thing. So she will compete in October at National Convention, and we wish her the best.
I'm Bridget Vaughn. I'm also one of the agriculture teachers at Oakland High School. We really appreciate you having us and our students here tonight to get them recognized, and we do appreciate all that you do. We had a student that's unfortunately not able to be here tonight, Madison Rich. She completed a Agri-Science Fair project in Plant Systems Division 3 and was named the state winner, and she will go on to compete at National Convention. She tested industry standard products for floral design, removing thorns and leaves from roses for arrangements to find the best industry tool. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Samuel Johnson, and I'm a sophomore at Oakland. And I competed in food science with my colleagues right here.
Yes, I'm Kennedy Lewis, and I'm also a sophomore at Oakland.
I'm Sarah Boucher, and I'm a junior at Oakland. Hello, my name's Sophie Marcos. We proudly won state for food science career development event. That's a competition where we do the triangle test, the aromas, and a knowledge test. And then once we get top 10, we all compete in a team presentation where we design and show off our on-the-go dessert snack cake. And we will be representing that at Nationals in October. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Redmond.
And I'm Kennedy Lewis, and we had an opportunity to compete in the Agri-Science competition this year at state. We made a 72-page research paper about the Tennesseans' perception of farm land loss, and we are proudly going to be representing Rutherford County at Nationals this year.
Hello,
I am Annabeth Cruz. I was in the Agri-Science Research Fair where I was in Environmental and Natural Resources Division 5, at state where I was the state winner. I evaluated constructed wetlands effectiveness in improving water quality, looking at different marsh vegetation to see if they could take nutrients out, looking at the problem of eutrophication. So, thank you.
Hello, I am Sarah Wheaton and I am a junior at Oakland High School. I was able to compete in the Agri-Science Fair Research Project in Division 5 of Plant Systems, and I was able to take home the state winner. I will also be able to compete in National Convention in October, and I'm really excited. My project was over the effectiveness of different floral preservatives on the bacterial growth, moisture retention, and longevity of cut flowers. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lydia Moore. I'm a freshman at the Oakland FFA chapter, and I had the opportunity to compete in the Agri-Science Fair, Food Processing and Systems Division 3, and won the state championship. Will be representing at nationals.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Gann. I'm a member of the Oakland FFA chapter, and I competed in the sheep production proficiency. I was the state winner, and as you can imagine, I did everything sheep production related, from feeding to land management to vaccines. And I guess the beautiful part about my proficiency is I didn't do sheep production for my proficiency. I did the proficiency for sheep production. I just do what I love, and I just kind of put it on paper and recorded it, and I'm going to go on to compete at nationals. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Annabelle Alexis, and I am a junior at Oakland High School, and I had the opportunity to compete in the Prepared Public Speaking Leadership Development event. I was tasked to write a 6 to 8 minute speech about farmland loss and a legislation that goes with it. The legislation recently passed, so that's pretty exciting, and I am having the opportunity to compete in October for our national convention. I am so excited to represent Tennessee and Rutherford County in the fall. Thank you all so much.
Good evening. I'm Emma Milliken, and I had the honor to represent Oakland FFA, but also Middle Tennessee FFA as a student member on the nominating committee for the 2025-2026 State FFA Officer Team. And I had the opportunity over the course of 2 days to interview 30 candidates who were vying for those 6 positions as a state officer. Being able to sit at a table with both our Commissioner in Agriculture and our Commissioner in Education really made me thankful for that partnership and the encouragement we have from both of those departments. Additionally, Oakland FFA was recognized as the Middle Tennessee Points Cup winner for the 2024-2025 school year. This award is given to the chapter who's the most well-rounded in their success. This is based off of the 3-circle model in agricultural education, supervised agricultural experiences, our classroom laboratory experiences, and our participation in FFA. The commitment that our chapter members have, not only to excellence inside the classroom, but outside the classroom, really speaks not only to the dedication of our FFA chapter, but also our advisors. This is an award that we set our sights for at the beginning of the year, and with the help of our officer team and our advisors, we're really thankful to not only receive this, but also the opportunities we are awarded through it, especially with the support of our school administrators in our county.
Next, we're going to hear from Eagleville FFA and Stewart's Creek FFA.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Marshall, and I am a senior at Eagleville High School.
And I'm Ariana Moda, a senior at Stewart's Creek High School.
And this past March at the Tennessee FFA State Convention, we had the opportunity to run alongside 30 other candidates for a state officer position. Ari was elected the state reporter, and I was elected the state sentinel. And over the next year, we're not only going to get to represent our school and our county, but we'll represent over the 33,508 members from across Tennessee.
And not only was I selected as a state officer, but I also had the opportunity to compete in the Agricultural Communications Career Development event, which our team took first place and will compete at the national level. And I also was able to compete in the agricultural communications proficiency, where I was also named the state champion, which includes my podcast, working with market research and agricultural companies and making sure that we battle those misconceptions in agriculture. Thank you.
All right, next we're going to hear from our FCCLA friends, which stands for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, prepares students for careers in family sciences, education, and human services. We will hear first from Blackman, FCCLA.
Thank you for having us tonight. I'm representing two students who couldn't be here tonight. I'm Leslie Mertz. I teach TAP at Blackman High School, and I took 5 students from FCCLA to compete at state. Elijah Wall won first in nutrition and wellness, and Baylin Lowe won first in early childhood education. So we will travel to Orlando in July to compete at nationals.
Next, we will hear from Riverdale, FCCLA.
Hello, I'm Miss Loudon, one of 3 advisors, Miss Klein and Miss Wilsford at Riverdale. For FCCLA, I'm just going to speak about 2 members that made nationals that are not able to be with us. We have, with this group here, they had a 3-team group, and Jasmine Welch is not able to come, but she's with them and she'll be going to nationals. And also we have Sabria Thomas, who competed in food innovations, and she won first place state gold for Tennessee, and she'll be going to nationals too. She made a smoothie with, she put goji berries in it, so we're hopefully going to use that in our new smoothie bar at Riverdale next year. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Mary. I'm a sophomore at Riverdale High School, and we participated in Chapter Service to Play project level 2, in which we won first place going to nationals. Our project is titled Community Embrace, in which focuses on elderly going through a tough crisis of loneliness and depression due to the lack of family ties. We visited the Rutherford Community Care, in which we accomplished our goal of bringing happiness and positive social interactions between youth and adults. Hi, my name is Evie Harlan. We did this by having 2 different visits. The first one was during Thanksgiving, which we made cards and hand turkeys, which allowed them to feel positivity during the holidays. We then went back during Valentine's Day, where we made canvases that they could paint on, which allowed them to feel happy. And then we went to the rooms where senior citizens couldn't come out of, so we could let them feel happiness too, and we wanted them to feel included as well. This impacted the senior citizens because they felt happy after we did our project, and it lowered the depression rate within that small community. This impacted our members because they realized they should love their grandparents no matter what, and they should visit them more often, and it gave them a positive impact on the senior citizens. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is John Martinez. I competed in STAR event, career investigation, and I investigated the law enforcement pathway. And this really helped many ways, not just with me, but to others, as in my friends, peers, because it made them know that police officers do many, many work, and we don't appreciate them enough. And it shows that no matter how many times we get mad at the police or we get mad at anybody that's part of the law enforcement, we really should be thanking them. They're helping our community, they're helping everybody. And with this STAR event, I won first place, and I will be going to nationals. And I applied for the NLC scholarship, and I was really, really blessed because I won that scholarship. I was the only person in the state of Tennessee to win it. So not only am I representing Riverdale, I'm representing the state of Tennessee. And I really, really hope that the judges over there like it, you know. And I also want to say thank you to the fellow officers over there, because like I said, they don't get appreciated enough. And thank you.
We also have TSA and HOSA, and they were not able to join us tonight, but what do all of these have in common? They build confidence. They give the students opportunities to prepare for real-world opportunities and careers, and they open doors to travel, competition, and leadership. And this would not be possible if it weren't for the advisors that teach our students day in and day out. So if you are a CTE advisor and you're still in the room, if you would please stand. Thank you very much. And thank you also, I know they've said it before, but we have a very supportive school system, school board, and we would not be able to do the things that we can do if we did not have that. Our school administrators, they are all in, and it really makes a difference. It's not normal to have state officers. It's not normal to have as many winners as we have. And so it's a testament, true testament to what you all do and the hard work that the students put in. And so I know that these students that we saw tonight are going to become our future leaders, and so I'm so proud of them. Again, I thank you for your support, and we're done for tonight.
Okay, for our second part of Rutherford Proud tonight, we're once again going to honor 4 staff members who have been nominated and selected for a Strong Outstanding Staff Award. These, once again, are being brought to us by Sonic. I'm going to bring that up every month because we've got Chris Braggins and Alan Schuer over here, managing partners with the Sonic Drive-Ins of Rutherford County, and they've graciously supported this program all year long. This is our last one of this school year, but as I've said before, they have already asked, could they do it again next year? They said that we want to do it again if you guys are doing it. So very much appreciate that. I do take one note, though, with some of those students who are just here. What do you think about them calling some of those games from our past, Dr. Sullivan, as classic games? Did you hear that?
It hurt. I mean,
Street Fighter holds up.
Yeah, that hurt.
Let's say that. Street Fighter holds up. So, but okay, so the first category tonight is for someone in administration, and it's always great when it's somebody who I know personally, who's also, I know that they're a wonderful employee, but Brett Throneberry is an AP at Riverdale High School. Come on up, Brett. Dr. Martin, our deputy superintendent, you'll go see her. She's going to have it. Now, I'm going to say nice words about Brett.
We make her speak first.
What's that?
I think she should have to speak.
Yeah. She also worked for Dr. Sullivan at one point at Rocky Fork, so it's great. But Brett's a great administrator. And the person who nominated her said she's an amazing boss and leader, always there with a sweet smile and always willing to work with others. So thank you, Brett. The next one tonight is a third grade teacher from Rockville Elementary School, Miss Beth Carter. So this one's a long one, but I'm going to read it. She's amazing with the kids. She's hands-on, always making learning fun and always showing experiments, examples, or having the kids doing something fun, whatever they are learning to help them learn. So many kids learn more by showing than telling, and she does both. Therefore, more kids are coming out knowing more knowledge and having fun doing it. So thank you. The next is Miss Linda Thompson. She's the lead custodian at Laverne Lake. Miss Linda is an incredible lead custodian. She is hardworking, dedicated to her job, and always does whatever she can to support the school. All of our students and staff are always happy to see her because of the kind heart and friendly smile she always carries. I can't think of anyone more deserving of recognition. And then the last one is Miss Danielle Anderson, who's the bus driver for bus 284. Is Miss Anderson here? So I think, Miss Anderson, is this your first year driving for us?
It's my very first year,
Yeah, I heard that she's already making an impression, but Miss D takes the time to truly see every one of her middle school bus riders. She is the positive start and end to my daughter's day, so this came directly from a parent. My daughter literally says Miss D is her favorite human at Blackman Middle School. She has fun with her students and is a true joy, and she puts their safety both with the bus as well as social, emotional safety first. So, thank you so much. Could we get the board to do a big group picture real quick right over here in the corner?
I believe we have some more guests from Miss Rosales.
Yes, we have a special treat tonight from Stewartsboro Elementary School. Miss Snyder is here. She's the principal. We're going to be graced by the 5th grade drama performance led by Miss York and Miss Williams, and they're going to be doing Moana Jr.
Watch and learn. It doesn't matter how you feel inside, don't reveal inside, you keep it real inside. Ha! So you make a face that makes it terrified, you make it scared inside, your teeth are bare, alright. Ha! You're getting out of your life. You're gonna help us to survive. I'm gonna help us to survive. Lower your face. Ha! Till it's second nature. Make your lower your face. Ha! Sing that warrior song. Oh, that warrior face. Ha! Time to tell the straight I've been a warrior all along. I've been a warrior all along. Wow. Yeah, you did good. I kind of thought you'd be dead by now. Dead? But I'm super glad you're not, because I need you to live. What? I'm playing you're going to be a distraction while I go for the hook. Scrub really likes his treasure. Are you sure this is going to work? I've been thinking of getting my hook and doing an awesome game for 1,000 years. This has got to work. It's going to be. Wow, sparkly, shiny cane. Just like me, it's covered in sparkly sugar, sparkle. You're not selling it, it's so stupid. You do that, you're dead. All you have to do is distract Tom Tillo and make him talk about himself. That show loves to rap. You two skip one great. No, leg. Cooper's leg? Now wait.
What have we here? It's a sparkly, shiny. Wait a minute. Ew, it's a human. What are you doing down here in the realm of monsters?
I just had to see for myself.
Because you have a death wish?
No, because we humans have heard the tale of the crowd. I just needed to know how you became so fabulous.
Are you just trying to get me to talk about myself? Because if you are, I'll gladly do so. It's over! But Tom hasn't always been this glam. Was a traveler had once. Now I know I can be happy as a clam. Because I'm beautiful, baby. Did your granny say to listen to your heart? You are on the inside. I think they were to tear this argument apart. Your granny lied. I'd rather be shining like a treasure from a silver power rack. Scrub the deck, I'll make you look shining. I was sparkling with wealthy woman's neck. Just a sec, don't you know? Mr. Dum 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 isn't anything like glitters. Beginners, oh, here they come to the bright thing like glitters. Fish dinners is just love-free food, and you look like seafood.
No, hey, crab cakes, it's mountain time. Giant Hawk, coming up. Giant Hawk! I said giant hawk! It's okay. My hook doesn't work. What? I can't transform.
Well. Little Maui's having trouble with his look. You little semi-demi guy. Ouch, what a terrible look. Get the hook, get it? You don't swing it like you used to, man. Yeah, you have to get a square for my star. Get it here from the outside. Can't you see I made myself a hook of art? I'm never hot. I'm too shining. I'm a diamond in the rough. Shut myself is so shining that your armies will never be enough. My shut's so tough now and then. You can try, but you can expect a demigod. The attack apart, look it up. And you'll die. Now it's time for me to take apart your aching heart. Far from the ones who abandoned you, chasing the love of these humans who made you feel wanted. You tried to be tough, but your armor's just not high enough. Now it's time to kick your highness. Sing someone so shining. Look at Paris, don't see. Stand out, me, mon ami, I'm so shining. Just for me, you'll never be quite as shining. You wish you were nice and shining.
I got something shiny for you.
The heart of Tafiti, the power of creation, for a crustacean.
Come and get it. We got go. What was the heart? He can have it. I got gorilla one. Nice. Let's get at it.
I see. You take a wonderful crew, violence and out in diversion. Sebastian never had to put up with this.
Thank you very much. We have the most talented students, and that was tremendous.
Thank you so very much. That was wonderful.
We do not have any public comment tonight. Next up, we have legal.
So first, we have a transfer student under discipline number 1. The board's been requested to admit a transfer student from another school system under discipline. The student was remanded for insubordination. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admissions of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation is to admit in place into alternative school in this situation.
Number 8, financial.
So starting several here as we look into financial matters. This is a Fund 141 fund balance amendment, and board, when this was originally posted on Thursday or Friday, I don't remember the date it originally posted, we had several fund balance amendments. Those are going to pause and wait until the June meeting now after talking with County Finance Director Michael Smith for something with transportation and trying to get checks out for next year's contract instead. And so we've got to work through a couple of things to be able to do that for $4,000 for insurance. You want to go ahead and talk?
Well, we had talked about that last month or 6 weeks ago, how to formulate it, and the only thing I could craft in my mind was to take it out of ending fund balance this year and then replace it after July 1st back in. Is that what he's come up with?
No, so Brian and I are moving all kinds of, so we were doing 2 amendments. We have revenue that's one-time revenue that we had not budgeted yet, so we don't, for our fast growth funding and direct outcome funding that we use as an end-of-year cleanup amendment, we were doing non-salaried first, and that's what we really, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, because all the numbers are starting to run together with 2 budget years. I know they are for you too. That was what was on your originally posted on Thursday. Michael would much rather say, he said, just do 1 budget amendment. It's easier for us. That's what I do on the county end. Just do 1 budget amendment, and that way he can talk through with us on how to also pay the roughly $1.4 million in $4,000 insurance stipends for contractors that go ahead and sign the contract.
Okay, so
we're going to find it in this year's budget.
That was the great concern. That was the only thing I could envision was to take it out in fund balance, rob it, but he's okay doing it a different way. Y'all figured it out then.
We're trying to figure it out.
Because
we're still working on figuring it out, yes.
And here's the dilemma in my mind right now is that, okay, this is the first time we've ever done this.
Yep.
Let's try to get it right. But we'll be faced with this again next year.
Yeah, it's a recurring expense.
It's going to be a recurring expense. So when do we do it? What date does it need to be done on? Assuming that even though the contractors won't be signing a new contract next year, they've still got the insurance premium due and payable, I guess, the 1st of July, something of that nature. And so we've got to formulate this plan somehow.
Mr. Reed deserves a lot of credit. He's worked on this as well.
Great.
Yeah, this was on Thursday. It was not on my radar till Thursday, and we already had our budget amendments posted, and he was...
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
I didn't keep this on the front burner.
You were good, and Mr. Reed called, so we had it worked on, and we removed the budget amendments, and now we're working on it.
Well, I appreciate it, because this was one of those... This was the part of the contract that I was very stubborn on, I guess, is that I felt very strongly that we need to get that money to the contractors as quick as we could. So anyway, thank y'all for doing that.
Yes, Ms. Darby.
Just for clarity, so is the insurance payment part of this amendment?
It is not. It will be part of the next one, and I'll get into that once I get a little bit further, but that is the reason. I just wanted to clarify why, if somebody saw the budget, or saw the agenda on Thursday, there were, how many amendments did you remove, Brian? 3, 4?
At least 3.
Yeah, so we had a lot more amendments on there, and then we're just going to do one big one just like the county does, and that matches what the county does too. Sometimes you can be just trying to get everything rolling. He was like, just do it exactly like we do it. Yep, one big huge one, yeah. So this first one, this amendment is to move the current charter schools payment transfers of $3,367,842 from $99,100, $590 transfers to other funds to $72,310, $312 Board of Education contracts with private agencies per the Tennessee Comptroller's Office. Also, this amendment adds $500,000 to the $72,310, $312 expenditure to cover the additional cost of this original budget for the charter school transfer. This increased cost will be funded from additional TISA direct funding RCS receives from the state. And we discussed that a little bit in next year's budget on last Thursday, but this is for this year's budget to go ahead and get it where the comptroller wants it as well.
Okay, number 2.
I hope it's going to be the last of it.
It will not. It will be every year recurring. Next, we have budget. So we had our budget workshop on Thursday, and I'm sure we'll get further into this here in just a minute. So let me revisit, and happy to answer any questions on some of this stuff. I'm scrolling down so that I can get to all this real quick. So our proposed budget for 141 is revenue of $573,385,825. The general purpose school fund expenditures is $581,334,045. That is a deficit of $7,957,222. There is one thing I want to call to everybody's attention. John, can you bring up page 77? I think it's on 77. Let me try to find it real quick. Maybe 78. We noticed this today. Yeah, page 78. This was just a coding thing that was coded to driver's ed when we noticed that early childhood didn't have funding. So we have fixed this. But the courthouse has already sent it to us, but it'll be updated on your presentation and on the agenda as well. Did we lose it? I'm trying to see, I'm looking for, scroll down a little bit. Right there. So you see early childhood education on the very far right, and it's got, Brian, this one's right. Oh, scroll over to the right further. Sorry, move over to the right. If you see over to the right, it has 0, and then driver's education has $1.6 million. We do not get $1.6 million in driver's education money. It was incorrectly coded on our end, and that should be $1.3 million in revenue in the early childhood education line. That's 2 lines up, and then $300,000 roughly in driver's education. So that'll be fixed when we send that over to the courthouse. That used to be TISA in lieu of payments, and it got switched on ours. So we'll have those 2 lines fixed. What are the actual numbers in those?
Driver's ed is $350,000 and early childhood education is $1.3 million. And they've already been fixed. Michael fixed them
already.
10 minutes before I walked in here.
So they're not driving Cadillacs and being
No, we're not. We don't have $1.65 million coming in driver's education money. That would be really nice if we did, but that is not. But then what offset the cost was 0 in early childhood. We do get funding for that. So I wanted to correct that. The other part, if you can go to page 74. Just so the public can see, here's the numbers that I'm reading off of. The next fund we have is 143, our cafeteria fund. Again, we are going to the deficit for this on purpose. We are expecting revenue of $26,844,250. Excuse me, and expenditures of $33,503,092. Thank you. And we are trying to spend that fund balance down. The last couple of years, we have budgeted into the deficit of $4 million roughly, and our fund balance is still going up. And we would need to have that at $6 million. We need to have that at a 6-month roughly fund balance, and so we're too high over where we need to be in the cafeteria fund, and so we're still trying to spin that down. Part of that is some of the equipment that we were trying to buy wasn't necessarily purchased the last couple of years, so we're actually purchasing the equipment we planned to purchase the last couple of years.
Ms. Maxwell.
Mr. Table.
All right, you said, I know we're always trying to spin this one down, but we tried to spend it down last year, $4 million deficit, and we still added to the fund.
Still added to the fund balance.
What was the fund balance that we added to it?
Can you pull up the fund balance? It wasn't much. It was like $1 million.
Right.
But if you can pull the actual numbers. And while he's doing that, I'll go over 177. That's okay. And then 177 is our capital projects fund. This includes what we use for our HVAC roofing, big capital projects at each school, our 177 list. This has an increase of about $300,000 from previous years. And so that is what is proposed revenue from the courthouse. The big things I wanted to hit on, and I'll probably say the exact same statement again when I get to the financial report later, is 141 does have a 2.9 million increase above maintenance of effort. The revenue is proposed by the mayor's office and the county finance director. And so I thank both of them and the board for hopefully approving on Thursday the revenue. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't approve revenue, but thank both of them for that. It's really exceptional what we're able to do. This year has a 2.5% raise to the table, 17.5% for contractors for bus transportation and $4,000, and then opening a new school. I do just want to caution that revenue is always at the discretion of the county commission. So over the next 5 weeks, I guess, or 6 weeks, that's something that we're going to hear a conversation about. So having a positive relationship with our commissioners and talking about that's what we're able to do and why that funding is such a good thing for us. Is opening a new school does cost extra funding, and most of our funding additionally comes from the state. And I think that is important to talk about. TISA really helps save our school system budget. TISA adds a bunch to our school system budget. Now, part of that is part of the governor's requirement to get to $50,000. So that's where a lot of that funding comes from. So.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Mr. Rosales.
Can you go over the maintenance effort that's above?
Yeah.
You say it's,
2.9 million above is the mayor and finance director's recommendation right now. But that is always open to commission's approval, and they can do as they desire with that because they are looking at everybody's budget, not just ours.
And then my other second question, the $300,000 that we're receiving from Fund 177,
yes.
Is that the money that are we getting back the money they took out last year when they were trying to give the raises to the employees? I think they took like a $250,000 out of the budget or something like that.
They did, but this is just an increase in adequate facilities tax.
Okay.
So it is not an additional penny. And this does pull roughly a penny out of 141. So it is a reduction in a penny. But sales tax is still increased. So that's where the additional revenue is coming from, is sales tax.
So compared to last year, it's just an increase of $300,000.
In 177, it's an increase of 300,000, a little bit over. And 141's increase is largely sales tax and a couple other ones.
Right.
So I do anticipate the board getting some questions. Anytime that pennies are moved, you always get emails from the city as well. So just anticipate that, but that's outside of ours, and we're 2.9 million is extremely helpful, and it's something we need as a school system to be able to operate.
Ms. Sharp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Sullivan, will this be written out, the recommended motion, all of that?
I'll write out all the numbers
Okay.
and everything. Yeah, with
All the
like we
amounts
have
and
in the
everything?
past with 140. Yes, I can write that out.
Mr. Bond.
Yes. I got a question about the maintenance budget, I think. The information we got, I think you presented last week, had a 12.5% decline.
Correct.
That's just something, we've got to have a maintenance budget that will keep up with our equipment's getting older, and we're going to need, older stuff needs more attention. I can speak for that myself. Just getting older takes a lot more. But those maintenance guys, boy, they work hard. I can speak from experience. If you got a problem in school and something goes down, they come running and help you out and fix it. And if we don't keep up, we can't. I think they took a cut last year, and they're taking a cut again this year. And I think it's just it's going to really eat us alive. I think that if we could, any possibility to get back up to put that 12.5% back in there. And I also noticed there wasn't any new positions, I don't think, for maintenance.
That's correct.
We got a new school, And, you know, those people are just spread thin. And I hate to see it, because if we don't do something about it, it's going to be take a ticket, take a seat. And if I'm principal out here at Oakland High School, then my air conditioning goes out. You know, I don't want to have to wait until I'm fifth in line until somebody gets there. You know, the way it is now, they wear themselves out to get there to meet everybody's needs. And with adding a new school, I don't see us cutting that budget myself. I just like, if there's any way to put that back in there, I mean, even we got to raise it a little bit for the total budget. It's worth it, because maintenance it's true with anything. Maintenance of the equipment you have is so important. And you know, if we don't have the maintenance, it's going to catch up with us.
Can you go to page 94? All right, so here is our maintenance line. They did request additional positions, and like most of our central office, we held steady, because if we're cutting from schools, then I can't increase at our central office. Their other big requests, they requested box truck, because their box truck's falling apart, which we just weren't able to fund because it was $250,000. The big decrease here is that we have decreased, our principals have been getting funding to go to schools. So over the last couple of years, we've been able to give $50,000 for capital projects at the 177 account, and then $50,000 for paint and that type of stuff at the school level. And we have decreased that to about $7,500 to $10,000, with hopes that we'd be able to come back as the year went on and add some of that to 177 and trade some of that off. But that's not paint, that's bigger projects that we'd be able to do. So that's where your reduction is. I totally agree with you. I just don't have the revenue to offset it. And that's why you see the decreases are going to be in the bottom down there in 72, 620, 399 other contracted services. A lot of that is your painting services. And then in maintenance and repair service buildings. And you can see this has been new the last couple of years. We had gone from 816 to 900 to 890 to 12 as we had funding. This year we don't have funding for that. It's 382. Next year we hopefully won't have huge increases in some of our areas. We should be able to add some of that back.
I just know from a principal standpoint that
I agree with you. Yeah.
You got to be able to keep the doors open. If the doors don't work, you're in trouble. Anyway, you know, it's just. But I just think that's something, if some of these department heads would like to donate a little money, put them back in there, because they'd be willing to contribute to get these people to work.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr.
Yeah, I'd kind of go back to that just a little bit. So really the logic here is, because you're opening a new school, we need that extra money there, probably
for a year.
The lesser of two evils, right? Yeah. You've got to open the school, so therefore the maintenance that's where the money's coming from. And I'll remind, I'm going to follow up what Butch was saying, because, you know, 25, 30 years ago when we dealt with this was the directors and some school board members then were very notorious about swapping money around. They would, you know, the commission wanted to fund capital projects, and then all of a sudden those capital projects didn't get done. The commission thought they were paying for them a little bit every year, and then all of a sudden we were doing capital outlay notes. And the biggest example I can give of that is the two roofs at Oakland and Riverdale 30 years ago, 28 years ago, and the revamping of Central when it was still a middle school, much less after it's turned back into a high school. And so I know there's nothing we can do about it this year to stay within that line, but I think Butch is right. We got to keep knocking at that door just a little bit. I think the commission would be more apt to do it, as the old saying goes, take your medicine in small doses. Let's take it pretty quick instead of taking one great big one 5 years from now. So anyway, I concur.
And we're still, I'd like to point, we're still better than we were 3 years ago. There was no money going to that 3 years ago, so we're still putting money towards it. It's still 60,000 above what schools were getting. And for our board, we have to watch very carefully because of shared penny. There are a lot of things in 141 that we take care of, such as painting, your typical just cosmetic things of a school that we cannot take care of in 177, because if you take care of painting in one, that's the easiest example. Brian, is there another example you can think of, or Trey probably better? What are things we don't take care of in 177, because then you have to share the penny if you're funding it out of that, and that's a legal issue then. So we are very, and I know our principals get frustrated with it, but we are very hard on what is 141 and 177. Yep. Painting's the main one, isn't it?
Well, any equipment purchases, any furniture, things like that. There's a lot of things that are not capital. They're considered maintenance and normal wear and tear. And that's kind of your differentiation, is wear and tear and capital improvement.
And so that's 141, the other one's 177. And I know, and I hate it for our principals being a formal one, it wears you like, why can't I? That's a capital project. It's not when you're looking at the legal definitions.
I just think your principals be willing to donate the paint to be able to get the equipment serviced and the maintenance people to be funded, to where they don't have to struggle. Because, I don't know, I just hate to see it go. It makes it harder and harder on them. It's more and more demand by a new school, and the older equipment, it's going to take more maintaining. And I just think by going in the negative, even though we've done it over the years, we got to give them enough money and enough resources to be able to get the job done. We can't expect them to do the job that they're expected to do unless we give them the resources to do the job.
Agree. Mr. Tidwell.
Yeah, I'm just going to add another comment on here, joining with the other two, just saying that, preventative maintenance is a whole lot cheaper than letting things kind of go along and then they break down and then you have to take care of them. So just being in that field, I certainly concur with the other statements here. Of course, we budget pretty conservatively, so the potential of us coming back and hopefully addressing this a little bit deeper seems more realistic.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Then we will move on to the resolution. And Mr. Reed?
Which resolution are we? Okay. So this is, and I can read this one.
Okay.
This is the and then I've got some FAQ, and I'll
Everybody should have a copy.
Yep. And I will probably read the FAQ stuff for people watching tonight and do the exact same thing again Thursday night, because I know that teachers are watching this. So this is the Education Freedom Act requires that in order to receive funds for the $2,000 teacher bonuses outlined in the bill, the local Board of Education must first adopt a resolution affirming that they would like to participate in Section 4 of the Education Freedom Act of 2025. So this is TSBA's model resolution? I thought so. So this is a resolution by the Rutherford County Board of Education, whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education is charged with governing the school system so that all students receive the best educational opportunities in order to graduate students prepared to enter a post-secondary institution or the workforce, and whereas the Education Freedom Act of 2025 includes a provision providing one-time bonuses of no less than $2,000 to the public school teachers in the state, and whereas Section 4 of the Education Freedom Act of 2025 requires a local Board of Education for an LEA seeking to participate in Section 4 of the proposed act must affirm its intention to participate via resolution in order to receive state funds to issue these bonuses. Therefore, be it resolved, the Rutherford County Board of Education affirms its intention to participate in Section 4 of the Rutherford County, or the Education Freedom Act of 2025 relative to bonuses for teachers. So now let me kind of go over some of this, because we talked about it at our retreat, but I want to go over for our staff. This is the Education Freedom Act that was passed in January. It is going to be a little bit strange. So it is for teachers that were employed during the 24-25 school year. So let's talk about teacher eligibility first. Teachers had to be employed for 120 days during that time period. And this is all codified. They had to work 50% of the time in direct instruction with students. And so this is all in our evaluation system called T-Encompass, where their evaluations are entered. We had a report pulled on April 15th. We're uploading and making changes to that based on qualifications. A new report will run May 15th. We'll make new modifications. A final one will run June 15th. We'll make our final uploads. And then the funding, where it gets strange, the funding, this is part of the governor's 26 fiscal year budget, which starts July 1st. So I know that our teachers, we've had a lot of questions of when is my $2,000 bonus going to be here? It is not part of the governor's budget. It is part of the governor's budget that starts July 1st. Again, you have to work 120 days and you have to have 50% direct instruction with students. It does not include principals, does not include most of your central office staff, does not include classified staff. It is only direct instruction certified teachers. So in looking, and I was reading the FAQs just a little while ago, and what it talks about is, this is straight from the State Department. The department will calculate the total payment amount and load funds into E-Plan as soon as the funds are available at the beginning of July, and they're working with their partners at local finance to do that. So it will not be until sometime early July until districts are able to draw down those funds. As part of our budget, there's $9.3 million in our budget, which makes our budget look even larger than it really is. That is part of it, but we can't start paying that out until we actually receive the money. So we have to draw it down. Our books and the courthouse's books are closed in July, so that's part of the audit process. Your books are closed as you turn those over. Realistically, you're looking sometime in August for teachers to get their $2,000 bonus. Then we've had a lot of teachers ask, how much is it actually going to be? The state is sending down $2,306.60 per person. That covers, all of your benefits. We are taxing it. Brian, what did we say we were taxing it like? Because everybody should receive close to $2,000, no extra withholdings, anything like that, right? Just like as a supplemental payment, is that correct? The $2,000?
Yeah, it would just be as if you were given a stipend or supplemental payment.
Yeah, so it won't be extra taxed, as close to $2,000 as possible, and that'll be sometime in August, is more than likely. If something happens and happens earlier, then we're ahead of schedule, but August is the most likely. New teachers will not receive it, so that's going to be strange. So, because again, it's just for 24-25 school year teachers. If somebody was in another district, they need to contact their previous district, not our district, and we're going to get that question a lot. If someone was in another state, then they're not eligible. Hopefully I made that.
What if a teacher retires?
If as long as they taught with us this year, then still. If they retired, resigned, no longer employed with us for any reason, then they'll still get it. So, as long as they taught the 120 days.
Ms. Maxwell?
Ms. Rosales.
Thank you so much. I received quite a few inquiries about this from different teachers because they were thinking that we were not making it to the deadline. That was the June 1st, I think it's what we have to submit this. So I think they will be happy to know that we're going to meet the deadline and submit this in time because they're looking forward to the $2,000.
Yeah, yep. And we'll have an FAQ on our website by the end of May, probably earlier than that, but budget and graduations are focused these 2 weeks.
No, that's understandable. But the payout seems like it's going to be in
It's going to be a while.
2025.
Because there's no way, we're not going to get it from, especially with 4th of July, it's not going to draw down from the state for a while anyways in July.
Yes, Mr. Vaught.
We're pretty sure TSBA's got this clearance from State Department of Education.
I sure hope. That's why I wanted to go straight with what TSBA had.
So if it's not right, and the legislature, the State Department of Education
don't like it,
it's on TSBA, not on us, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
I don't believe we're probably the only district that.
No, most of them are using this one. Some other ones did their own, and I liked some of the wording personally of some of them, but I'm going to go what TSBA recommended.
It's not first come, first served, is it?
No, I hope not.
No. We made the deadline.
Yes.
Okay, next, number 10.
Yep, and number 10, and I'll do some talking on this too. So transportation bus purchase request, transportation department's requesting to begin the purchase of buses to supplement the current student transportation system. These buses will be utilized to replace unfilled contracts and to provide coverage for added transportation needs. There are 2 local bus companies with buses available to purchase. Central States Bus Sales have 4 90-passenger buses available for $179,286. They have also provided discounts based on number of buses purchased. Mid-South Bus Sales have 8 90-passenger buses. 5 are priced at $170,000, 2 are priced at $168,000, and 1 at $166,000. They also provide discounts based on the number of buses purchased. Both companies offer 3-year 50,000 miles. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and has no objections. So a couple things just to point out. Funding for this will be part of fiscal year 26 because we would purchase after July 1. We'll transfer, so a couple things. We pull back up. John, can you go to page 95? And scroll down a little bit. So if you all see line, I have a really nice glare. So 72, 710, 315, that is the contracts with vehicle owners. And if you scroll all the way over to the right, 33,688, that is our amount with our 17% increase and the $4,000 into it. This would come from the anticipated routes that our bus association has said that they anticipate not filling. I have no way of knowing how many there's going to be. I have no way, but we have had contractors, even at the courthouse when I present, say that without the insurance, not necessarily the raise, but without the insurance, I don't plan on driving. As a director, I have to provide the board options. I think we're in a real likelihood that we are without some type of option because insurance does not seem likely. Honestly, I don't see a way that it is before school starts. We looked at PRZ. We have looked at buses, or a hybrid system is next. The only other option for us is doing an RFP. I think that's not a great option for us to have a third party like Hamilton County has. I think that could be even more cost prohibitive. But that's really the options we have out there. So can you go back to that page? Sorry. So the funding would originally come from the amount that is there, and we would transfer, we'd do a budget amendment because the overall line, your overall account, has to make sure that it's not in the negative by the time that you close. We would do a transfer from 72, 710, 315 at some point throughout the year down into 72, 710, 729, which would be, I'm guessing, transportation equipment, or would you want to do it? I don't think there's another bus line. It'd have to be.
I'd have to look on the chart of accounts to see if there is a bus line, but if not, it would be the 729.
That would be your first, and that's an initial one-time payment. There is, of course, large increase up front. Next, what you were looking at is bus drivers. So in looking at other systems, Wilson pays a little bit less, the city pays a little bit more, so it's somewhere between R106 and 107 for the first year, because when an employee starts new, you pay a little bit less. You're looking at 1 year experience would be $21.16, all the way to the end would be $26.98 if they have 0 years experience with us. If we started it at 107, it's $22.21 to $28.79. And again, then the board, we have not drawn up a job description yet because I wanted to see what the board wants to do with buses first. So, do I?
Could you repeat those figures?
Yeah. So R106,
to 106?
and this is this year's rate, so I don't have it with next year's portion yet. R106 or R107.
R106 and R107.
Yeah, depending on which one the board. I haven't drawn a job description yet because if we don't purchase buses, there's no need for us to go down that road.
Yeah, but what was the rate that you
R106 this year is for a new employee, $21.16 to $26.98. The way we have it is you start on a new, and then your second year with us, you go to a that actual next year of where you're employed. So you start off on the scale and then you place the next year. And R107 is 2221 to 2879. And so that would part-time not have benefits. A lot of districts have to go to full-time, though, and have benefits to hire drivers.
I'm sorry, let me get clarity on that again, too. On the benefit side, you're saying?
Part-time does not have benefits. If you hire full-time, you do have benefits.
They're gonna get any pay for their experience, like if they've been driving for 5 years, they get credit for that.
What do we do for experience right now? For classified? Dr. Anthony, what do we do for classified?
Classified in my side of the street is typically they bring in back up with what they've been doing, and then I would review it and make a recommendation to HR.
Okay.
Ms. Darby?
That was actually going to be one of my questions. In going over a lot of this and doing some research with some other districts and stuff, I've been left feeling insanely conflicted about this whole thing. I think it's an odd thing to be discussing the buses without knowing kind of where we sit. I don't know if there's an option, because I know we're concerned about our budget, to approve the money where it is and potentially move it if it has to be moved based off of decisions. Because here's the thing, if we have half of our contractors accept the contract as we voted on the raise last time, and the other half decide not to drive, I don't feel comfortable making this decision without knowing, like, what are those 150 buses going to cost if we do them ourselves? What would it cost to have an outside company do them? Because fiscally, we need to weigh what all of that looks like versus what it looks like to be able to give more money potentially in the contract, if that's what's going to bring more contractors back on board. I just feel like there's still a lot of unanswered questions. That's just something I'm kind of throwing out there to the board, I guess, because I think we're just kind of in a weird spot. I wish there had been deeper discussion about this a while back. I'm a little disappointed that the contract didn't go a little more. I think my expectation was that it was going to get discussed with contractors and get brought to the board as a whole, like, this is what they're looking for, what does the board want to do, and we would have gone back to the contractors, and then they would have potentially come back to the board. I feel like there's been discussions with a lot of different people, but it wasn't really brought to the board as those discussions were happening, which I think has just kind of put us in an odd spot.
Yes, Mr. Tidwell.
I had a follow-up question to that. I'm glad Ms. Darby asked that question as well. But my understanding this is we are approving this purchase to happen right now, or we are approving the potential for it to happen, because a lot of it would depend on what comes back from the contract. So can you kind of walk us through when the deadline is for the contract so that we will know exactly how many contractors did move forward, how many didn't? Because I've had multiple contractors reach out to me and say, hey, if there's routes open, we would like first dibs.
Yeah, I have to, and ultimately contractors would have really the first dibs on the routes. That's also my concern. I just want the board to be aware that a real possibility, and I of course will support whatever the board decides, but at the end of the day, with PRZ, with this, with RFP, when a district gets asked, why do we not have transportation services? The board decided not to purchase buses. The board decided not to have PRZ. We're going to have those tough conversations. And that has to be part of, I don't want to have that answer, but that has to be part of my answer when we make recommendations.
So can I follow up with that? So let's run through a scenario here. Let's say that we have roughly 40 open routes, including the 10. Yep. Roughly 10, is it 10 to 12 for the elementary?
Yeah, 10 to 12, yeah.
All right, 10 to 12 for the elementary. And then out of those, you have, I don't know, you have contractors, current contractors pick up 10 or 15 of those, and that's still going to leave us with 25 routes. This helps cover some of those.
Didn't cover all, yeah.
Is there an opportunity, if this insurance thing, which I want to talk about the insurance thing when we get to the contract as well, but is there a possibility that if insurance obviously is not going to make the deadline this year. It's not possible. So, it could come in later in the year. We can talk about that in a minute. But for those that were holding out because of insurance, could they potentially, if they wanted to, I'm not saying could happen, I'm just putting it out there as an option, come work as an employee for the county, and then that would give them the opportunity to be under insurance. I mean, I don't know any other way for them to be.
We've had a couple reach out and say, we still want to drive, can we sell our bus? Because unfortunately, and I've reached out to risk management as well, and their response was, if the county purchases buses, are they covered? And reached out to the underwriter to find out, and then you'll have a slight increase in your payments, but yes, they'd be covered underneath the county because then they're county-owned property.
I know that's probably not what a lot of.
I know it's not. That's not what people want to hear, but you're
in every path.
You're exactly right. Like I've said before, and I can't say it enough, I don't want to be in the bus business. We're a large district, and I don't want to manage another department. We are large enough, and those of you that talk to me or come through, and you can see I'm on the phone nonstop every minute of every day trying to play whack-a-mole with something going on every day. I don't want to manage another department. But I'm trying to get as much service to as many kids as possible with the reality of we're going to have shortcomings to start the year.
Well, it sounds like this is the way that I've took it, is that we are preparing for a worst-case scenario in the hopes that this is not even needed. So,
You're right. And then what I look at from the other points, in a worst-case scenario, it would have been great if I had $1.6 million in driver's ed money. This would have covered some of it. But to offset some of that, we used to use driver's education money to buy activity buses for our schools. We have not purchased an activity bus that I know of since I've been director, 4 or 5 years.
It was good while it lasted.
Yeah, it was. At least 4 or 5 years. So, I can just read down just real quick, and I'll email this to y'all, how old our buses are. And so in a worst-case scenario, in a best-case scenario, all of our routes are filled. Our contractors have come through, the ones who haven't decided not to proceed with a future contract. Our contractors have covered the rest of the routes. We've purchased 10 to 12 buses that I can now replace our activity buses that need new buses. I'll just read real quick, and again, I'll send this to you. Here's how old our buses are at the activity bus level. What's the total of buses? Yeah. I'm sorry.
The question I asked was, how many do we have? I get fussed at because I don't cut my microphone.
31.
So there's 31 buses.
33, but 2 are now out of service as of this year.
So basically, not quite one per school.
We've got more. Well, this is only high school.
Oh, this is the high school.
Only high school.
So we have one.
I can't.
Yeah, 4 per high school.
It is
Am I doing that math right?
Not everybody is treated equally. Some have.
You didn't have to say.
Yep. And some have purchased different ways potentially.
I understand.
Hopefully.
I understand.
But I'm not going to get into all that. But
didn't mean to steal your thunder, but the age of them.
Yep. I'll say like this year, for example, 2008 Laverne High School had a bus, and it is no longer in service. End of life. Rock Springs Middle had a bus they purchased themselves in 2005. It went away a couple years ago. They were the only middle school. So Blackman High School has one that is 9 years old. Blackman High School has another that is 16, so it's end of life. Blackman High School has another that is 5. Blackman High School has another that's 12, so they've got 4. And so we're running into some treacherous times here. We replace those.
So state law apply to activity buses like it does route buses? I'm getting a lot of up and okay.
Yep, it does. And I don't have right in front of me whether these are big buses or small buses. I just have the VIN number. Most of them are big buses.
Okay.
Yep.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Darby.
Dr. Sullivan, can you speak to the activity buses?
Yes.
What do they serve? Are these the band buses?
Yes. Field trips, that kind of thing. After school, all that kind of stuff.
So, because we're throwing everything at the wall to see
I've already
what
thrown
sticks.
this out there too. Yeah.
Is it not possible to have our current contractors serve in that capacity as well?
in those buses, they're wrapped and I don't think would be eligible.
Most of these buses have either been painted or wrapped, and once they're painted or wrapped, they can only be used as an activity bus. They cannot be general purpose transportation.
No, I'm talking the opposite manner. Meaning if you have some bus drivers whose routes end early and they want to drive Stewart's Creek Band to wherever they're going for the football game that night, can we not utilize our current contractors and their school buses
We do.
in
but
the
it's-
activity capacity?
We do, but it's usually more expensive. So if we have coaches that are already employed, then we use our coaches on our buses.
More expensive, like when you're talking about in the moment, but I would wonder at the cost of how much the new buses are, what does that look like with the inflation of the new buses going up? I mean, I'm just throwing out all ideas. I have a couple questions too, just trying to understand. I know you sent the email, thank you for that, for the uncovered routes. When you talk about that, like it says the following were down for an extended period of time, 30 days or more, does that mean they didn't have coverage at all, or does that mean that that bus couldn't run the route and it had to be covered by someone else?
Can you speak to that at all, Trey?
That would be correct. That bus is not running, and either we provided coverage or the contractor provided coverage.
Okay, so it does not mean that like those particular routes, the kids didn't have service.
In limited situations, yes, they did not have transportation, but it gets covered within a day or two.
Okay, so the two that are here that say 194 and 278 are currently without a driver, are they still currently running? They're just being covered by someone else?
Covered.
Okay. So my understanding is when we have a route open like that, and I'm just trying to understand how all this works, it goes through a process, I think like a 3-tier process of being put out to our contractors, is that correct?
They get 30 days to get the bus back up and running. Then there's another possibility, but once the contractor turns in the route, then we have a route, then it becomes open, and we do have a 3-step system to someone acquiring the route.
Okay, so have those two gone through that process already?
They have not, but they have received their letters. They're in the process of, and to be perfectly transparent, there's 11 days left in the school year. I'm not interested in trying to get rid of a bus contract with 11 days to go. Now, that's going to sound unfair to someone who may have, back at the middle of the year, that after the 30 days, and we recommended to you guys that the contract be, removed. It's a fairly lengthy process before that contractor's route's taken.
So is it fair to say that those two, though, like for the start of this next coming school year, would start in that 1st-tier process at the start of the year?
If they don't have drivers when come July that are CDL certified, I'm going to recommend they don't get their route.
Well, wouldn't they already be out of the route at the end of the 30 days? Or does it start over at the beginning of a school year?
It starts over. But what I'm saying is because of where we are today, when they get, I'm not going to recommend we re-up a contract with somebody who's not in good standing and then can't provide me with the driver. They're going to have all their ducks in a row when they get ready to sign their contract. And if they don't, I'm going to recommend we take the route and put it back out for open receiving.
Okay. So the 8 buses that we're talking about purchasing, can you speak, Dr. Sullivan, specifically to what those are? I understand that if all works out in a perfect world, we'll have some new activity buses if we end up purchasing.
I don't think that's realistic, yeah.
But if not, the purpose in purchasing these is to
Fill where
specifically
we have openings. And I think it's going to be a random spot across the county, teacher, I talk with my hands, random spots across the county. So we will, Trey and I talked about this the other day, with Poplar Hill opening, everybody that's in current routes shifts. And so like Stewartsboro's losing some, Blackman Elementary's losing some. And please step in on this because you know a lot more about routing than I do.
The way we call collapsing. Typically when you open a new school, the routes that are around it, you're affected by 3 schools. that the new school takes its place. This year's drastically different because we're rezoning the whole county elementary-wise. So instead of just being the buses that support those 3 schools, now it's the buses kind of sort of all over the county. So we're rerouting elementary-wise the entire county. So the premise still kind of remains the same. We've done our best to not take a bus that's always driven Las Casas and send them to Laverne. So we call it collapse. You kind of take those buses that are on the periphery supporting Browns Chapel, Stewartsboro, Blackman, Stewarts Creek Elementary. Those 4 schools are the 4 closest routes. Those buses, in some shape, form, or fashion, are going to slide to collapse to pick up Poplar Hill, and then the buses that are a little bit further out, you see what I'm saying? They just all kind of shift a little bit. Nobody really gets sent to the other end of the county. That's our intentions. That's kind of the way we've always done rezonings. This year's going to be a little bit different. So we would basically have those routes, those buses that are in those areas. They would know what their route is prior to school starting, and then that would be the route. But what we're going to know, in theory, is by July 1, who's in and who's out. So we will begin to know prior to the routes being finished where those holes are, if there are holes. Best case scenario, there's no holes. Makes my life a whole lot easier if there's no holes.
And the alternative buses, if the board was to decide to eliminate that service.
That's additional buses, but most of those buses are short buses.
How many buses is that? Do we know?
I can get you an answer by Thursday.
I'd be interested to see that.
And when you say alternative, are you meaning all alternative transportation or just the alternative schools?
No, the alternative schools where we've been providing. My understanding is they ride the bus to their home school and then they get on another bus and get taken over.
Some do, some don't. Some have door to door. And then we have other alternative.
And all special education would stay if it's in their IEP.
Yeah, their sped
Not
stays.
talking about that. I'm just trying to piece together, I'm trying to understand, because part of my concern too is we could buy these buses to fill the potential holes that are coming up, and we could end up having buses and no one to drive them, because my understanding is there are other districts struggling to fill bus driver positions as well. I know I spoke to, I think it was Williamson County, and that would be a concern because their starting pay for their bus drivers is $23.65.
Yeah, so we may have to go to 107. Yeah.
So that's
what we'd have to look
there's
at.
a lot of working pieces. Another question would be, once we get these buses, is transportation going to need another position to monitor and keep up with the maintenance on those buses? Where are they going to be stored? It's a lot, this is what I mean, like there are so many working pieces to this that I don't feel like have been fully talked about, walked out, and it makes me leery of us making these really big decisions without having some of these answers better put in place.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Mr. Tidwell.
Yes, so a quick thing. If we were to order the buses, how long does it take to get them? 60 days?
We basically have till the end of this month to place an order if we want them here by August. Otherwise, they're going to sell them to someone else. They're holding them till the 1st of June.
Well, I mean, again, I was looking at this as a backup plan, and I'm also looking at this as activity buses had not been brought up as an actual issue until tonight.
I'm just trying to come up with worst case scenarios. You're exactly
right, and I get that. But what are we talking about? How many millions of dollars are we talking about here? 2.2, 2.9? I don't know. I didn't do the math, so I'm guessing over 2 million, somewhere between 2 and 3. I don't necessarily want to spend that money if we don't have to spend it. So I'm wondering if we can reach out to our current contractors and ask them and say, let us know by June. Let us know by June 1st. And then we can approve this as an option that based on what we get the feedback by June 1st, whether or not y'all make the decision to move forward with those purchases, because you would have some kind of idea of what we got 40, we got 30 positions, we got 12, something like that. What I don't want to do is I do not want to take away, I don't think it fiscally makes sense to take away routes if we lose 10 or 12, 15, whatever open routes, non-renew, and those are picked up by our current contractors. I just don't think the extra $3 million makes sense. So that's what I'm on. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, Ms. Rosales.
Okay, so how many routes do we have right now in the 2024, 2025 total?
332. Yep.
332. How many of those 332 have been unfulfilled this year?
Off and on, average maybe 10 or 12.
10 to 12. But when you say cover, does that mean that a new contract gets picked up? No. What is that?
Contractors adjacent to them or their buddies cover the route.
So there's 10 to 12, 10 to 12 routes that do not have a contract.
No, they have a contract. The bus is not running at some point, but they have a contract.
It's so confusing to me,
They're getting paid
because
for
if
that
we're talking about unfulfilled routes, I'm thinking it's a route that does not have a contract, that is not being.
No, when we say unfilled, we're talking future. We're not talking present. Unfilled means there's going to be some contractors that are unable to or choose not to provide their own insurance.
Right.
Therefore, they would be unfilled.
Right, so year before, so we had all the routes covered. We did not have issues with a route not having a contract. Out of the 332, there's not been an issue with.
Throughout this year, we've had 10 routes that have had periodically over 30 days, and they are picked up by another contractor or somebody else to cover it, but we are still paying that contract like it's running. That's where the school system's financial issue is. We want to talk about fiscally conservative and watching taxpayer funding. We are paying a contract that is not being fulfilled by that contractor.
Within 30 days.
At any point.
Any point.
We have no mechanism to show that that contractor is not being filled.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand the whole thing of the contracts, what is filled, not filled, and this whole 332. So I think my other question is, the contract for the bus contractors expired in June 30th. Right. Will it be possible to know if because now we're going to have 332 plus, what's the new contracts for it? What are the new routes that we're going to have now?
10 roughly, because we haven't drawn routes.
So it's like 342 new contracts, right? So I think like Mr. Tidwell was saying, is there a possibility to have a deadline of when all these routes can be filled and picked up by the contractors so that we can know that we're getting them filled?
All right, what if? To get this money for the insurance to the contractors, you're going to have a head count and a commitment. They're going to have a signed contract to be able to get the insurance money, to get their insurance in place for July 1. The contract is what's going to tell us who can and who can't.
So I think my question is, we know that the contract is going to expire in June 30th, but if we know that they're going to be committed, like let's say by June 1st, let's say, because we're going to vote on this contract regardless either way. And so they're going to have potential to sign the contract before the contract expires. So if they have the potential to do that, can we have a deadline of some sort to say?
I think we're trying to say the same thing. Okay. They're going to have a signed contract. Here's where we sit. This is the second week in May. Mm-hmm. For them to have checks in time for them to have insurance, we need to be cutting checks in 2 weeks.
Correct.
And I'm speaking for Michael at the courthouse. If we don't have a contract for these folks to sign, whether they agree to sign it or not, is irrelevant for this conversation. But if they don't have a contract to sign in 2 weeks from now, There's no way the insurance checks are going to be cut to be able to get to them to get their insurance in time, because the county shuts down for the last week and a half of June and the first week and a half of July. I can't get POs, we can't get checks. So we got 4 weeks to vote on a contract, get these people in here, sign a contract, get the information to Michael Smith so that he can get a check cut. We will know as soon as you say this contract's approved or not approved, whatever y'all vote for, then they can say yes or no. They're going to have a week and a half to decide whether or not they're going to do it.
Right.
If you vote Thursday.
Yeah, but regardless, they're going to have, they, meaning the bus contracts, will have the first dibs to pick up all 342. And so if all the routes are covered, have a contract, whatever you want to call it, then we could potentially use those 10 buses for activity buses to replace some of these buses.
That's not a me decision, but I would say yes.
And Mr. Lee?
Because I think that we will need to give them priority first, the bus contractors, assume that they're going to pick up those routes, and if they do, then the backup will be that we allow to them to be used as activity buses. Because some of these buses are on the last leg anyways when it comes to activity.
June 1st, their hard deadline, I'm sure. June 1st, their hard deadline, I'm sure.
To me, yes, or they're going to sell them to somebody else. Now, I don't blame them. They're sitting here at the time of the year. They've agreed to hold them till June 1 because they're in our community, but I would not want to even broach. I'm not picking up, I say I'm not. I would prefer not to pick up the phone and call them and ask them would they extend it. I don't think that's unfair. I think that's unfair practice.
It'd be unfair to them.
Yeah, it would be.
I don't, personally, I just don't think we have any option. Because just like the PRZ, we've got to furnish transportation.
Can you hold that just for a second? Ms. Darby, I had already given her the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
When we talk about the contractors covering someone else's route, just want to clear up so I can understand. I understand somebody has a contract and is getting paid to run that route. So bus 135 can't run their route, so they call their buddy on bus 154 and they're going to cover that route for them. We are paying bus 135.
The original.
Correct. But we aren't then paying additional for 54. They work that out between themselves, correct?
Correct.
And if they cannot, they ask us to assist, and at that time, we do pay the contractors.
Okay, so if they're unable to cover the route themselves, they will call you, and you will have someone cover it, and then you have to pay additional monies to have that covered?
Correct, and they don't get paid.
But then the original contractor does not get paid?
Correct.
Okay, so there's no financial difference, correct?
If you've got bus drivers who I'll cover your route, and what happens on a daily basis right at the last second of just put those kids on my bus, there would be. Do I want to get into the ins and outs on that on camera of what happens on a day-to-day on transportation? That happens.
I guess I'm not clear on fiscally how that's. Go for it.
No, when you're through.
That's it. I'm just trying to understand that. And the second question, before I forget, would be when we talk about the contract, is it possible for us to put a deadline on it of May 29th? And then the board, if we needed to, could come back on May 30th to vote on whether or not to purchase the buses? Because quite honestly, if we end up in a really bad spot, we may be talking about purchasing additional buses other than just 8.
You want to hit on that?
Well, we've got some contractors that have already reached out and said, if I decide not to sign my contract, I've got 5 years left on my bus. Are y'all interested in buying it? Yep. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole at all.
That's a possibility, Dr.
But they are, I got another email last night, got a nice new bus.
Go ahead, Stan.
No,
Fill me in.
Boy, this is one field I wished I didn't know a whole lot about, and I thought all the rest of y'all new about this, since most of you had already been through a contract once before. But you're talking about getting an education from this group and this group back here. And I thank all of them for bringing me up to speed, because I have had a crash course in the last 90 days. Our contractors do a phenomenal job. They really do. Because if you've ever been involved with logistics, whether you've worked at the post office, or you've driven an over-the-road truck, or Amazon, or anything like that, it is an absolute miracle that things get to where they are on time, much less 30,000 kids to school on time every morning and get back home in the afternoon. I spent the better part of a day with Trey a couple of weeks ago, just to hear, just to see, visited with all the ladies in the back office, understood their job descriptions and how they work. And I'm giving you a lot of sidebar right now, but this is where this is all coming from. Is you have a lot of cooperation with some contractors. There's a lot of contractors that get along, they cover each other. Hey, I've got a flat tire, my bus didn't start this morning, battery's dead, especially on those 17 degree, 12 degree, 8 degree mornings. Some of these diesel motors that weren't plugged up the night before don't really want to crank. And so there's all kinds of chatter going on. I guess it starts at about 5:30 in the morning with these people. And I'm going to say probably 85% of them get along pretty good and cover each other. They have a backup plan. Some of our larger contractors, they have those backup buses that I talked about earlier, covering the insurance on those. Some of them, what I call the owner-operators, the single-shot people, they cooperate or they affiliate with somebody that does have a backup bus. So it's really, really amazing if you stop and think about it, that everybody gets to where they're supposed to be on time. Now talking about, kind of moving forward on this, so I congratulate all of them for working on it. But going through the negotiation process here, we have been, back and forth for 90 days here with the contractors, with the association, with the independents. I've talked to, I know 42 of the independents myself. Some of it very, very positive, some of it not so positive. One of my 50-year-old friends from Eagleville called and reamed my tail out 2 weeks ago because he didn't think I was for the bus drivers, that I was doing my job as the liaison, trying to cover this insurance and making everybody understand about the insurance. And I hate to go back to that right now, but talking about this expenditure. Now, I've circled all back around because I have dealt with this. I understand it. Some buses we've got 20 kids on. We may not have but 8 or 9 or 10 on a route, but some of them are packed to the gills. But they have to, transportation has to design a route knowing that there's a potential that kid could get picked up in the morning and have to be home that afternoon. They never know from day to day. Most of these bus drivers do. The parents are real good about telling them, hey, Susie's got a dental appointment tomorrow. She won't be here. Or she's not riding the bus home. I'm getting her at school. All that kind of stuff goes on. But I don't know what the big deal is about buying 10 or 12 buses. I really, really don't here because of 2 or 3 reasons. We've had an association that has told us as soon as 2 weeks ago, they were going to park every one of the buses on a Thursday morning. Well, I have to take them at their word, and I think this board would not be prudent, and our director, I was fixing to say something ugly, dang sure wouldn't be doing his job, and the transportation department wouldn't be doing their job if they did not start formulating some kind of backup plan. Now, what I've heard Dr. Sullivan say tonight is, hey, maybe this is a direction we want to go in. If we don't have 100% participation in the new contract, we've got some buses and we can experiment. I'm going to call it an experiment, pilot program, whatever you want to call it here. I don't think Trey wants to take this on, but we as a board have taken on transportation for this county, so we've got to make every preparation possible. And so buying 10 or 12 buses, in my view, is really not that big a deal. And he's telling you, hey, if we had 100% participation, we've got, how many buses? 30 buses that are getting old, like I am.
Not that many
that
are
kind of
old.
need
There's a
updating.
Yeah.
The worst we end up doing in this deal is replacing a bunch of old activity buses, and we continue on, and we have 332 contractors signed right back up, contracts signed, and 10 of these new ones are awarded, and kumbaya and happily ever after, and everything's A-okay. So that, I don't see, it is a capital expenditure. I did talk, now this was hinted to me from the courthouse 2 or 3 weeks ago when I first heard about this, that if we got into this, let's say only half of the contractors signed back up, and we're faced with buying, 10, 20, 30 buses a year, that we would end up doing a capital outlay note of some kind and financing these. I think, and I say the bunch at the courthouse, I'm talking about everybody at the courthouse, not blaming this on the mayor or the finance office or the county commissioners, just a concerted effort of, hey, what y'all gonna do? Well, hey, here's what we're going to do, I guess, as a backup plan. I don't know. I'm like Trey, after visiting with all these contractors, I think we got some of the best people in the world taking care of our kids, but I understand the reluctance. Some of our very closest friends are scared to death about this insurance right now. And I'm trying to give them what guidance I can about business structure or insurance. And, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I don't mind offering what little advice I can give, but I just, again, I think it's a big deal in one sense. Another sense, I've seen this bunch up here spend $4, $5, $6 million and not even hesitate. That's my 2 cents worth.
Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I would say thank you, because ultimately it's not something I want to get involved with, but I have to prepare for all scenarios. And I think it's also fair to mention this is not the first time that this has come up. We've discussed this off and on for months. We discussed it at our retreat. We discussed it at multiple meetings with the attorney mentioned when he said our people won't sign. And I mentioned at that direct meeting with the attorney standing right there, if you're telling me you're not going to sign, I have to start looking at purchasing our own buses. And so to act like that for the public when they talk like this is new to us, it's not something I ever want to recommend, but providing transportation services to our families is something that we saw with mentioning the PRZ that is definitely something that is valued, rightfully so, in this community. And I've got to provide options to the board of all different types of scenarios, whether I like it or not.
We wouldn't be doing our job as a board if we did not prepare for worst case.
I was in line. I was in line back there somewhere.
That's true. Yeah.
That's right, he's been waiting.
Yeah.
He had to wait.
I completely agree with Mr. Vaught. I don't think that we can afford to gamble, because we've been told that certain drivers are not going to be able to get insurance. And the worst thing ever, I learned one thing from this PRZ. All these parents that are concerned about PRZ, if you don't support us in buying these buses, I'm going to come looking for you, because if we don't have them and we don't have a bus to come pick your kids up, then, we got to have your support in this. So I agree with Mr. Vaught. I don't see that we have any choice but to buy them, I don't take the chance. If I was that big of a gambler, I'd be in Las Vegas, I guess, but I just don't want to do it.
Ms. Sharp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Listen, I don't agree with this. I understand Dr. Sullivan's point. I think before we go too much further down this road, that the Madam Chair needs to put together an ad hoc team and look at how much it's going to cost for owning, how much it's going to cost for subtracting, and how much it would be subcontracting, and then how much to buy out these buses. We have no plan here. We've got all these things, But we can't get too far down the road on some of these things and go, oh, well, this is not going to work and it's going to cost too much money. When we, as the county, as the school board looked at moving from the county insurance to the state's insurance, there was a committee put together to study it, and they studied all the ins and outs of this. And I think that we owe this to the taxpayers to study this.
Yes, Mr. Tittle.
I mean,
Can I say one more thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
go
Ms.
ahead.
Sharp.
Sorry. Because I had to write my notes down here. Because, listen, almost 3 weeks ago, we voted on the RFP, and to my knowledge, it's not been done. It's not even been started. So why, I mean, I think there's people out there that have whiplash from this. That we have to do the PRZ zone because we got to save money. And then when the parents rose up, they were like, okay, well, we still need to save money, but now we're turning around and going, well, we're going to spend $4 million on these buses. We don't have anywhere to park them. We don't have anybody to drive them. We don't have anybody to maintenance them. And we have no idea how much all of that's going to cost. None whatsoever. We're just shooting around in the dark. It is where we are.
Mr. Vaught, Mr. Tittle next, and then you, I promise.
It's where we are, but we need to at least try to put an ad hoc committee together and look at this to see that we're not going down the wrong road with this.
Mr. Tittle.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of these members have only been on the board 2.5 years. It's a 4-year contract, so this is the first time going through. But I do have a good understanding of it, talked to a lot of these folks. I'm not against the idea. I appreciate Dr. Sullivan bringing it up. We've had conversations about what the backup plan would look like. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm just dead set against it. What I'd be dead set against is if I don't think that if the activity buses is such a priority, then that we're going to do this and then use it to replace them. Then if we have a need for these buses, these 12 buses, when the routes come, are we then going to come back and ask for 12 more for the activity buses? So to me, the need is not as strong as it's being made let out to be. I'm wondering the timeline, and I think that's where really this board is held up on, is we're just trying to figure out those that are, I'm assuming here, and that's always going to get me in trouble, but those that are immediately for it are thinking of the timeline, which I understand of, we got to have a backup plan in order in time. I get that. Where I am considering at the possibility of having a backup plan and also trying to save as much taxpayer money as possible is seeing how many contractors we will have participating. And then those that you've mentioned, mentioned Dr. Sullivan, about potentially joining with us. And because of the county insurance, it's not going to happen before August. That's a major factor for some. That they might be willing to, sell us their buses as they have mentioned, and we have some we turn into a little bit of a partial county. But it gives options. It's favoritism toward the people that have already been serving our county for many, 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 many years. So that's just kind of where I'm at. I'm just thinking it through. I'm not dead set on one side or the other.
Mr. Vaught.
Ms. Sharp, I think you're spot on, and I mean, I think we need a budget. Trey, I apologize to the rest of the board. I have played with numbers and dealt with numbers for the last 3 months, and I kind of know everybody's cost and operational cost and labor cost and insurance cost and depreciation cost and all that. But I think, Trey, you could probably, if you don't already have, some type of budget put together, to operational budget, or can you put one together for Thursday night?
Or what it would take to run them ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, we need to look at some type of depreciation cost, I guess, and then, the fuel cost. Put it on paper what I kind of know in my head right now.
And parking, we park them like we allow some of our contractors to park at our spots right now.
Yeah, I think you would park well, and that was
they
one
still
thing,
are.
Correct.
That was one thing that came out of my discussion with them. If you remember, I brought to the board that they were asking for every time we build a new school now, that we would program spots in to park, and then even places like my group at Las Casas, wondered if the state testing could be done at Las Casas Elementary or Oakland or something like that. So those are little incremental things I think we can do. But can you throw some kind of budget together between now and Thursday? That's a lot to ask you, I know.
I'll see what I can do. I'm off tomorrow, but I'll do my best to have it by Thursday.
Thank you.
I agree with you, but I was at Rocky Fork Middle on Good Friday, and there was a fleet parked there. So I was as shocked as you were that they were sitting there. But I drive by buses all the time, or schools all the time, and they're there.
The main reason we discourage it is because once we allow private contractors, we can't discriminate. So we'll have to let the tow trucks and the tractor trailer trucks park as well. That's where it becomes, plus we don't have any, it's a liability, we don't have any insurance for that.
We own tow trucks?
No, ma'am, but we have neighbors that do, and they want to park in our parking lots.
But they're not servicing our children.
They're contractors.
Buses are.
Contractors.
We can't differentiate between these contractors and other contractors of letting people park.
Yes, Ms. Darby.
That's all I'm saying. I don't have anything.
I got you.
I think some of the issue is communication, because we were told that the parking lot was not built to hold a school bus, and now it's kind of being said that it's something else. So, and it may be one way at one school and another way at a different school, but I think when we can be super clear and concise, even if we have to label per school, it's probably helpful to clear up. Because there's some tension between, and I will tell you firsthand as a school board member, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but sometimes I feel very stuck in the middle because I will have one person on this side of a situation tell me one thing and someone on this side tell me something else, and I'm stuck in a place of just trying to figure out where the legitimate information is. And it doesn't mean anybody's lying, but it can be something that's simple as just not all of the communication is there. So let me just throw that out there. But can we try to get what Mr. Lee is going to put together? I don't know if you're going to look at that as far as if we were to do it completely, what it would look like if we're doing it partially, what it's going to look like if we're just doing 10 buses, because like if it's 10 buses, maybe we don't need a mechanic, maybe we just need someone to monitor the maintenance and stuff on them and not a full-on mechanic. But all of those pieces are things that need to be looked at. I'd also like to get the number of buses for the alternative schools that would come back into play if we removed that service. And I'd like to look at the activity buses, what that, like the cost of those buses, along with any cost that's going to go along with those in comparison to what it looks like to pay our current contractors to run those activities in their buses. I think it's prudent for us to look at all of those options to decide those things. And I'm totally in favor of asking our contractors for a May 29th deadline on signing the new contract, asking those contractors that are interested in selling their buses to let us know by May 29th if they're selling their bus and how much they want for it, and if they plan on driving for the district if that becomes an option. Because I think once we have a lot of those answers in place, it makes it easier to make those decisions about buying the new buses because we have all of the information to make a good decision.
Ms. Maxwell?
Can I address part of that?
Just a moment. Dr. Sullivan said something.
I was just going to address, just be aware that, of course, I will get that information. The principals are going to have a whole lot of pushback on the activity buses. They can pay their coach $3,000 a year to drive their bus.
That's what I was going to agree on. That
compared to right now, they will pay. I know one school in particular pays to go to an elementary school, and what do we pay for the MTSU? $75,000 to budget to bus our kids over there for one day. Is that what we're doing?
$25,000.
$25,000 for the MTSU basketball thing a day, just for one day. I will always look to, of course, fill the board's request, but I also want to look to make sure that we're being feasible with what makes sense for our schools and from an operational standpoint. That's going to be a hard sell with our principal, so I just want you to be aware of pushback from that.
I was going to answer that from the principal's standpoint. You're never going to get the principals to go along with that because, one, you hire a coach and part of his job is to drive you. And that's free. you're paying him anyway. And to pay the cost of getting these contractors who can't afford it, school just can't afford to do it when you got drivers for free. And so that's.
Ms. Maxwell? Yes, I have a question. So the activity buses, when they break down or they need anything,
We pay for it.
right, but how does that work? Do we have a mechanic already in-house, or do we take it to Bluebird, or what's the process of that look like?
They go to the bus dealership.
Okay. So if we were to have these buses, it will go through the same process that the activity buses go through, is what I was trying to get.
Small number, yes.
And then, yeah, okay.
Mr. Vaughn, did you have something? Okay. Dr. Sullivan? Ms. Darby?
I have one last question before I forget. Is it possible to check with, and I forget the name of the company we got the RFP for, the third-party company?
Yeah.
Is it possible for someone to reach back out to them and find out if that pricing would stay the same if they were to service even more routes for us? Because I'd just like to I think that's a piece of the puzzle, just knowing where all of the figures sit.
I think I'd have to check with Joanne, it's beyond the 45 days, so we'd have to rebid the RFP.
For an official, is there no way to just get a general
you can-
idea if it would stay
No.
that amount or not?
For bidding purposes, no. To make sure that we were legal, no.
Yes, Ms. Sharp?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Lee, how would we appraise the buses? How would, if
got
we
that.
bought,
I've got that. Hold on one second. Sorry. I asked
like, is
that
there a
on,
blue book for?
I asked that on, yes. I asked that on Friday so this is from our purchasing director. So this is from, yes. This is TCA 1231-1201. And this is a Friday, so that's how new the purchasing of used buses is. And then TCA 12-3-1208. So TCA 1231-201, or I think that's 3, TCA 3-1201, and TCA 12-3-1208. So notwithstanding any charter, private act, or general law requirements, any municipality or any county may purchase used or secondhand articles consisting of goods, equipment, materials, supplies, or commodities from any private, individual, or entity without public advertisement and competitive soliciting, as long as the purchasing government documents the general range of value of the purchased item through a listing in a nationally recognized publication or through an appraisal by a licensed appraiser, and the price is not more than 5% higher than the highest value documented range. So we would have to get with an appraiser. We'd have to make sure that our purchasing documents through the county allows it as well. So that is our first 2 steps. Because that's new for us. Yeah.
You know that they're going to ask.
Yeah.
You know somebody's going to ask. I mean, somebody's already called and said he'd sell the bus.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Vaughn?
Yeah, I like for us to look at that we buy the buses from the people, maybe, that decide they can't get insurance or don't want to drive, but, and then we can maybe hire them to drive for us and put them on the county insurance full-time and give them benefits. It may be a good deal for them.
To the board to decide. If we get down that far, I'll have probably 2 job descriptions, 1 part-time, 1 full-time, because some may want to do part-time because they have another job, some may want to do full-time.
I got you.
Yes, Ms. Darby?
I do think that's something else that the board will have to consider if we start getting our own bus drivers, is how does the board view that position? Are we viewing it as a part-time position? I know Mr. Watts suggested that, people that drive buses could cut lawns or whatever, but it is a hard job to fill the in-between time. So then the board would have to decide, do we consider it more of a full-time position and provide benefits? And if we do, what kind of salary is expected? Well, but I mean, those are things we have to talk about, because if we're going to start employing bus drivers, you got to be able to answer that question. Is it full-time? Is it part-time? Are there benefits? Are there
Yeah,
not?
hourly, yes. It'd have to
So-
be hourly. It couldn't be a salaried position.
There's going to be a lot of questions to be answered if we go down that road.
Ask him if he could put together small thing.
Yeah, but you have to know what you're budgeting, full-time, part-time, benefits, no benefits, you have to.
You want to make that, I mean, I don't want to make that
How many
decision.
hours?
This is an insurance,
How many hours?
right? It's a backup kind of thing. So I don't.
How does he put together a budget, though, if you don't know where you're sitting? Because a $70,000 a year job versus a $35,000 a year part-time job are two big differences when it comes to a budget. Providing insurance and not plays a huge role in the budget. So if you're going to look at how much something's going to cost you, you have to know how you're looking at it. Unless we want to ask him to price it as a part-time and price it as a full-time.
Anybody else? Yes, Mr.
I think the last thing I'd bring up, this is not just something we have to be prepared to discuss as a school board. I know I've been asked by Commissioner, I'm trying to think of on Health and Ed who asked me, and I know that Dr. Martin got asked on the floor of, well, did you get asked on budget directly, what is our backup plan for contractors? And so we need to formally have some type of backup plan because we are being asked for our funding body, and what our commissioners watch our meetings, and our discussions and our decisions are watched by our funding body and noticed.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Mr.
Can we
Rosales.
take a recess?
Yes, let's take a 5-minute recess, please.
That'd be great. Okay.
We are back.
All right, next we have CT Culinary Arts Gas Line and Equipment Upgrade for Smyrna High School. CT Department's proposing installation of a natural gas line to service Culinary Arts commercial kitchen renovation. The project will also include upgrading the current electrical appliances to natural gas appliances. Funding for this project is an innovative school model grant and is expected to be $65,000. Engineering Construction has reviewed the request and has no objection.
Any questions or comments? Okay, next, number 3.
Mr. Reed, do you want to hit on this one? Because I don't know about this one.
As the board will remember, there has been some discussion about some property next to Smyrna High School being developed for a shopping center, which will be anchored by Kroger. So the developer who's with us tonight, we have Rhodes Seeger, and then he has his traffic engineer with him as well for the project here to answer any questions they have. But in regards to the development adjacent to the school site, there's some improvements that have to take place to the road and the ingress and egress points onto Bulldog Drive, and to get access across the school property back to another part of the campus. They've agreed to pay for all those costs at their expense. They're paying for all the engineering, construction work, and we'll get all that work done. So there's no cost to the school board at all in regards to it, but they do need to have a construction easement, a temporary construction easement to come onto our property in order to do that work. So there's kind of two components to this. You've got the temporary construction easement component, which I did make a number of changes to what they proposed, and they have incorporated those changes into the agreement. So I'm, as an attorney, I think the agreement is fine to be signed at this point. There was also the additional land that we had, many years ago, I drafted the option us to buy for a basically $100 if it became available for that 30 acres. And the board, as you remember, several weeks ago, voted to exercise the option to purchase that 30 acres. So that has been communicated to the developer. They've agreed to honor that option agreement, and they said two things in regards to it. They do want to treat it as a donation, so they would like to, for them, for tax purposes, which does not hurt us. So I don't think that's a problem from our standpoint. And secondly, they'd like to wait 1 year after the transaction is done before they convey the property to us, for tax reasons. So, and there's no immediate need the school system has for that 30 acres. That doesn't really hurt us. They are doing the work on the road to help us with respect to the ingress and egress points to it, and with the new roads that we need across the campus. So I think both the agreements are in order and appropriate. They are here to the extent anyone has questions for the developer. They're here tonight. They have their traffic engineer here tonight. They also have their project engineer here tonight.
Bless your heart, you've been here all night. Mr. Vaught.
Oh, I'm not going to let them sit over there either, because I'm going to ask them some questions. The traffic engineer really is, if he doesn't mind coming up and addressing this. And Trey, I'm sure they've coordinated with you on the site plan and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes.
As you're walking up, sir, thank you again. Thank you for coming. But my only concern is, and I think it's a good joint. I think the improvements you're going to make to the entrance and exit there is going to improve the entire site, both for the tenant of the shopping center and the school. But in designing the new entrance into the campus, what numbers did you use? It appears to me on that site plan that the entrance coming into the high school now is more narrow. Is it still going to be, is it not, Trey? Am I looking at it wrong?
Are you talking about just entering our property?
Yeah, where they're moving the entrance down to the, halfway down the parking lot to come into the school.
It is designed for one-way traffic, so not an in and an out. It's designed for in only.
Okay.
And it will be set up with signage is for bus entrance.
And that is the bus entrance.
The next cut that they show above that entrance will be an in and an out.
Further back toward the stadium?
Yes, there's two shown.
Okay.
One is basically for bus. We're trying to, best we can with this site, get buses in one place and cars in another.
I knew you had said that. I was just curious about what traffic numbers
That
you
is
looked
the
at.
intent, is for buses only. Now, once you get past start of the day and the end of the day, whether people use it, it will still be one way.
Right.
But vehicular traffic can access it, but it would be buses only.
I think my biggest concern was, since we've gone from a, 1,800, 2,000 student campus to 2,500, did they take that into account in all their designs?
We did, as far as the additional students in the school, we did, and we also looked at where people were parking now, because during the construction project, a lot of the students were parking on the east side of the school, and so now that construction's done, you know, that can go kind of back to the way it was. But as mentioned, that the idea would be to circulate the buses entry there by. What we tried to do was, you know, the frontage road that's named McWilliams Drive. Right. It was noted as a problem by the city in terms of traffic, and also when we met with TDOT, they wanted, if at all possible, to close that access off. And then we worked with Trey, and this is what between the civil engineer and us that we were able to work out in terms of dealing with the bus.
And thank you for staying and answering that question. That was we've gone to using all 90 passenger buses, and they're pretty good size, and you know, just making sure that they could enter accordingly. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Sharp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, thank y'all for hanging out and going along with us. It's 8 o'clock now. And I mean this as respectfully as I can, but the parents and the constituents and the teachers and the principal at Smyrna High School do not want this project over there. There's already too much. It's a safety issue. There's already too many people on that campus, and with Kroger coming in, it's going to make more people over there. I know the cow's kind of out of the barn on this a little bit, but just so publicly you know, they don't want it there. They don't want the Krogers over there.
Yes, Ms. Rosales.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it's been a long night. I'm so sorry. It's 8 o'clock. So the property that we were given the option to purchase, but now it's been requested to be allowed to have it classified as a donation for tax purposes. How much acres are we talking about?
It's the same acreage, so it's 30 acres that will be donated. And that's the same option, the property we have option to purchase for $100.
But
acreage is no different.
But they're coming to us now saying that they're willing to donate it to us.
They're confirming that we've exercised the option. They're recognizing we do have the right to exercise the option to acquire the property. They're agreeing to honor the option because they will be the buyer of the entire tract. So right now, when we did the option many years ago, there's a different owner back then. So they're acknowledging that they will honor the option agreement that's there. They've asked us to do two things, which they would like to have it treated as a donation from their standpoint. This does not financially hurt the school system at all, so that's fine. And also, they want to for be a period of 1 year before the donation is actually made. And we have no immediate use for the property today. It would take a year probably to figure out what we're going to do with it anyway, so that does not really hurt us either. So it does not look like that negatively affects us in any way.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Maxwell, you know, Kroger's always been a good neighbor. Wherever they've been, and I don't have any reservations. You know, I would strongly believe they're going to continue on.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Ms. Rosales.
Full disclosure, I worked for Kroger, and I know before. And one thing that Kroger is good about is becoming a neighboring partner. This store could be a neighboring partner specific to Smyrna. I know that when I worked for Kroger, they did a lot of that. Community partners.
Yes, Ms. Sharp.
This is not against Kroger. It's about the companies, the people that will be coming on that piece of property that wouldn't otherwise have any other reason to be there. It's going to bring people from all over. It's just like the dump being on our school property, it brings other people there. It's nothing against Kroger at all. Please, but the traffic and everything over there, it's already horrendous. It's already horrendous. I've spoken with Dr. Sutherland, I've spoken with the APs, and this is going to give an opportunity for other people to be on that property who should not be on that property. Has nothing to do with Kroger.
But you don't think it'd be any different than the people that were on there when they were doing the construction, do you? Won't they be the same people?
Okay. Yes, Mr. Vaught. Did you want to say something? Okay, you look like you had something to say. Okay, if not, we'll move on to number 11.
Number 11 is, the board has seen many of these come through, so this is the next one. MTSU seeks to be a Riverdale High School sponsor. MTSU proposes a contract in which MTSU may sponsor activities and place advertising at Riverdale High School. MTSU requests permission to place signage, which is detailed in the contract attachment. A, MTSU proposes to pay $5,000 per year for 5 years. The contract terms are September 1st, 2025 through August 29th, 2029.
Questions? We've done this numerous times. It's a really good thing that they do for all of our schools.
You know, is MCSU giving the same deal to every high school? Mm-hmm. Good, they need to, yeah.
Yep. Number 12?
Number 12, bus contracts, so a couple things. First, we had a question about the RFP. Mr. Reed, too. If you had anything to add to this, I'm going to talk about the RFP first. So, sent a letter of board action to Mayor Carr and to Chairman Dodd because there's question about where the action needs to take place. So, received a response that risk management will be instructed to begin writing the RFP. It is also, I've asked it to be on the health and ed agenda. Again, I don't know what the correct mechanism is. Usually board actions go to health and ed, but this is a department underneath the mayor's office. So covering both grounds just in case. So just know that that has occurred. And then we have our bus contract. The current contracts for bus service expire June 30th, 2025. The board needs to approve a new bus contract to be in effect July 1st, 2025. Board's been in discussion, as you all know, with bus contractors since January regarding terms for the new contract. A number of suggestions from the Bus Contractors Association and multiple other bus contractors have been incorporated into this contract. The board acted at its last meeting to do a 17% increase to the bus and mileage rates and to provide $4,000 amount per bus from the contractors to obtain liability insurance. Terms of the contract itself need to be approved by the board. This will enable the Transportation Department to begin the process of getting contracts executed and enable the contractors to make arrangements for liability insurance. Draft contract is included in the board materials. And as we already talked about, I think the May 29th deadline is great for us to be able to get the insurance portion moving because that helps us be able to tell the courthouse who to do checks for because they do have their last commission meeting June 23rd and checks will be cut off pretty closely around that date. So I know that we have multiple payrolls that run in June. Again, that seems like a great idea.
Yes, Mr. Stark.
Dr. Sullivan, would you please include in there the 17 and then the 2.5%?
Oh, yeah, yep. In the wording of the motion, and that, yep, got it.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Mr. Tittle.
I have a question. I don't know if this is for Reed or Dr. Sullivan. But a couple things. One, do we know, or actually maybe for Trey Lee for this first question, do we know when the routes will be set? You know, for instance, I know there's a lot of changes that are going to happen with the elementary rezone, of course, the high school additions when they open up at Oakland, Riverdale. When would those routes kind of be set in place?
We typically try to have them by the middle of July so that they have time to run them, ride them, check them out, make sure, see where they're going. We will do our best to do the same this year because it's August 8th. So we've got typically we try and get that done so that they've got at least a couple of weeks before we start. There again, that's why we're running out of time.
Makes sense. All right, and the other thing is, I had asked Mr. Reed about this. I'd asked that the wording in the contract, that if the county did get the insurance worked out, that there would be an option for the board, if in agreement with the contractors, could revisit them joining the county insurance. I know this has been an ongoing thing. There's been, I feel like the board has done their part, and there's been a lot of, I don't know what the correct word is to use there as far as communication, communicating that over. I appreciate Dr. Sullivan getting that out to both sides. But with that in mind, does there need to be wording inside to ensure, because I think I'd mentioned it when we talked at the last meeting, that I'd like for there to be an option that if they can go back out on the county insurance, when the RFP does get sent out, which I'm told that it is going to get sent out, that if we get that back in September or August, which it will likely be higher because it's not connected to the whole county government insurance, but when it comes back, if it is still lower than what we're paying the stipends and we decide to go back to that route, that is an option, for one, and that if there are any savings between there, however, be maybe less than what they would have been tied to the county insurance, that those savings would be split between the contractors and the county. So I just want to see, is that in the contract, or?
The language in the contract provides for the option, basically, in the event the county is able to get insurance and on the bus contractors, and this board agrees to do it, because you don't know what that cost will be until it comes back to the board. So you're not obligating yourself to do it now because you don't know what the cost might be. But it's a dangerous time to go out for an RFP for a standalone bus contract insurance. So you're not, I don't know what the numbers are going to look like when it comes back. So what this contract does provide is that if we are able to provide the insurance and the board agrees to provide the insurance and you vote to do that, then basically we will come back and amend the contract to provide for that. And that will be up to the bus contractors to also agree to it, so they may prefer to keep their own some. I don't know. But if they don't and they want to be on the county's insurance at that point, that option will be made available to them. And at that point, if the board, that's when you would say this is what the cost savings are, if there are any cost savings, so we will be adjusting the rates accordingly at that point. You won't know how to adjust the rates, though, until you get to the point of knowing what those costs are going to be for the new insurance program. So this does not have that specific language in here because it really is going to take board action to know whether you're going to do insurance or not later on, and you won't know what those costs are going to be until it comes back to the board.
But the option
is here,
right,
and that's the way this is set up to occur, and that's the path I think we're all marching forward on. So with the understanding that we don't know what the results will be from an RFP, but we will certainly issue one and do our best to get the best pricing we can in the insurance industry out there.
Yeah, and I think we covered that last time. We're talking about how, just from a construction standpoint, you take in more stuff, so if it's more liability. With the bus contractors, when you did the whole county insurance bid, since it wasn't connected to the whole bid, there might be less people interested in looking into it, and I understand all those factors, so it may come back higher, but I just wanted to make sure we had the option.
You do, yes.
What page is that on? And Madam Chair, may I ask another question?
Yes, Ms.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can you find it?
No, I was going to ask another question while you're looking for it. Are we signing the contracts before the routes are assigned?
Yes, that's typical. If we don't rezone, they typically get the same route as they had the year before. But when you rezone, they are guaranteed a route. They are not guaranteed a particular route. But we do historically have tried to accommodate and keep them in the same locations as much as possible.
Ms. Sharp, to answer your question on the bottom of page 4, under subsection F, it says, notwithstanding the above, if applicable law allows the board to provide liability insurance coverage for contractors, the Rutherford County Risk Management Office can obtain insurance coverage acceptable in terms agreeable by the Board of Education, and the Board of Education elects to do so in writing. The obligations under this section 13 can be amended by written mutual agreement with the contractor. So that's the bottom of page 4 and goes to the top of page 5.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Ms. Rosales.
I have a question. In the event that, worst case scenario is that the insurance is not picked up by the county at all, and let's say a bus contractor were to sign the contract and they don't want to continue with the service because of the insurance on year 2, can they just walk away, turn in the route? I mean, how does that happen?
They just turn in the route.
Okay.
I do have language we added to the contract. So if in the event the board pays the $4,000 to someone for the stipend and then they decide halfway during the year they want to quit or not run the route anymore, they do have an obligation to refund a pro rata portion of that premium back to the board.
They have the obligation to refund back?
Yeah, the pro rata portion for the unused portion of the year.
Dr. Sullivan.
And that'll be a requirement for auditing purposes, because if that's not returned, then we'll have legal obligations to meet auditing requirements, because we're paying for services up front in a different fiscal year. That was a big caveat to get through our finance department.
Yeah, I have one more question. But Trayley, you said that for them to sign a contract, they have to have an insurance and driver at the time that they sign the contract, right?
Yes, they have to provide those types of things to us every year.
So there's
Let
been,
me answer your question.
Yeah.
At the time the contract's signed, you won't have insurance in place then. That has to
No.
be in place by July 1st.
oh, okay.
So,
Insurance
because
in
they need the
place.
contract before they probably can get the insurance.
So they have to have insurance in place by July 1st. Do they have to have a driver by July 1st as well?
They'll have to give it, there's stipulations in the contract on when they have to give us drivers, buses, and a time frame when they're supposed to do all that.
Well, because there's been this date thrown around, May 29th, if there's a,
That's to sign a contract. May 29th is for you guys to approve a contract. That would be the deadline. That's the last that we can, I think, to get checks cut.
Let me clarify that. Board hopefully will approve on May 14th, so that they would have till May 29th to sign to get insurance, so that we can make a decision. Last case about getting buses for our own use.
And this is the first time we've done this, so it may take them a couple weeks to get insurance, because I'm sure their insurance agent, whichever one they choose to go to, is going to have a questionnaire for them to fill out and paperwork to fill out. So it will not be a situation where they just call and they get insurance in place by the next day. So it will be a couple week process before they get their insurance issued. That's why it's important the board to go ahead and, if we're going to go this route with it, and there's no other option for insurance, there's no other mechanism the county's going to have in place by the time school starts for insurance for the contractors. So the contractors need to bank on and count on getting their own insurance at this point. If we can get an RFP and something happens during the course of the year that we can get it covered in the county, that's fine, but we can't guarantee that, and they need to go ahead and get their insurance in place if they want to operate for us next school year. And because of that process, which may take a week's worth of paperwork with them and the agent, they need to be able to get started on that soon, so they'll have their insurance certificate in place by July 1 or before then, when Trey Lee's office will need it.
so there's a good possibility that we can know a lot of these bus drivers will be renewing the contract by May 29th. You think that's a
Assuming the
possibility?
board votes on this contract Thursday.
Reality, yeah?
That's what we're going to request to get insurance payments. We don't know it, there's no way that we can pay it out.
Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Vaught.
All right, y'all gonna hate me for this, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway. And kind of blame the $4,000 on me, because I kept going back. I felt like for the taxpayers' benefit, county commission's benefit, our benefit, the driver contractor's benefit, everybody needed to identify that was a new cost expenditure. We could have simply given the contractors, a 20% pay increase, and said, hey, go figure out your insurance yourself. But I kept thinking that if there was the possibility, after talking to the association, there's this possibility out there that the county could furnish the insurance. So that's the reason I think we get a little maybe sideways talking about that. I'm going to bring something up here, and y'all may not like it. I got to doing a little thinking over the weekend. that there's basically 40 or 50 buses, backup buses, I'm thinking. And, you know, that cost expenditure is about $160,000, somewhere between $160,000 and $200,000. From a lot of the group I have talked to in the last 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, their insurance number is coming in higher than this $4,000. It's closer to $4,500, $4,600, $4,800, depends on who you talk to. I talked to one gentleman today, his was $5,500. I'm going to bring this up for point of discussion right now. We could not cover, if you wanted to, and this would be a budget neutral kind of thing, we could not cover the backup buses and increase this amount to $4,500 per contract. I know that's throwing everybody a curveball right now, but I got to looking at it from a budget neutral standpoint that I think there's kind of an honor agreement now with the budget office and the finance office, or budget and finance committee and the health and ed committee. Hey, this is where we're heading. Here's what we think we want to do. You know, this is the 11th hour right here for me to throw you a curveball, but I just thought I'm going to bring it up for discussion.
You repeat it one more time?
Do what?
One more time.
Tell you what I'm thinking. It's late at night for me to be bringing this up. If my understanding is correct, there's somewhere between 40 and 50, and I'm looking at Trey, and because I think this was the number he and I thought. There was between 40 and 50 buses that had been inspected by the state this year that were used as backup buses. Some contractors have 2 or 3. If they've got 8 or 10 buses, 15 buses, they've got 4 or 5 maybe. Some contractors don't have a backup bus. You know, why are we covering their backup bus but not giving them, you know, a single owner operator a stipend to increase? And so don't shoot me over this, please. But trying to be as equitable to everybody and looking at that number coming in.
200,000 roughly.
It's a cost revenue. I mean, it's a cost neutral to us or the county commission or the board, but it would put that $500 extra in every contract. As opposed to covering the backup buses, you know, and then they have to, as business owners, then they would have to make the decision: do they want to cover those backup buses if they own one? If they don't own one, hey, they go lease one from Mid-South or somebody if their bus is down for an extended period of time. So then they would that cost would be figured into that lease payment or rent payment. I'm just throwing something out there. I don't know if that seems equitable or not. I don't know if it's fair or not. Just thought before. This is our first time to do this, and I don't want to mess it up because I feel like if we don't get the county insurance back, this is the way it's going to be for the next 20 years. Yes, sir.
I think if we're doing 342 buses, I think you could do $550.
$550.
Yep.
Oh, you're splitting hairs with me right there, buddy.
I was just trying to make the 200,000 match. That's what I was trying to do.
Hey, I'm good with it. I'm sure
50 buses.
Be good with it too. Does anybody follow my logic at all?
We could put that back in maintenance.
No. We're either going to cover backup buses or we're going to put it in the insurance line item. Don't do that to me.
I just took 50 buses at 4,000, 200,000, $550 at 342 routes or buses times your 10. It gets to 188, 100.
Ms. Maxwell.
Any comments from any of the 6 of y'all?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea. I like the fact that it's, you know, nearly budget neutral. I think the issue that I would want to consider in that is that these backup buses are actually getting used. So it's almost like, even though they are technically backup buses, they're loaning it out. A contractor that may not be able to run up and go lease a bus can call up one of these larger bus contractors and just say, hey, can I grab that bus today? So it's doing kind of a service even still. I bet if we looked at, I don't know how you'd gauge this, but if you looked at the amount of days those buses were used, they're probably getting used quite a lot. So I'm okay with still covering those buses because we're gonna need them on the road anyways. I guess my fear would be, I don't know how many buses are open for lease, but if they had like 5 or 10 or something like that, and you had a day where you had 15 buses, then we'd have 5 routes short that day. That's a good thought, though. I mean, I think I'm still where I'm at, but I like the talk.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yeah, I guess for clarification, if I own a bus and I can't run my main bus today, but I use a backup bus, will that insurance cover that backup bus? You got to have it on each bus?
You gotta have a policy on each bus.
Each bus, okay.
Yes, Ms. Darby?
I think it'd be interesting to find out, and I don't know because I didn't have actual buses, but a lot of times, similar to regular auto insurance, the more cars you have, the less expensive it becomes per bus. I don't know if it works that way in the school bus world, but it would be interesting to find out, because when you're talking about trying to have it fair across the board, it would kind of make it more fair in that sense, because those with more buses might actually be paying less per bus versus a single independent contractor. So I'd be interested to find out from the insurance agencies what that looks like.
Yes, Mr. Bott?
I'll answer it to the knowledge that I have. Yes, in auto owners insurance, me and you, because the odds are, if I've got a truck and car and a Jeep, I'm just driving one. With common carriers, I think that's terminology, common carriers, over-the-road trucks, buses, it actually goes up. It actually goes up.
Well, that would be another thing to look at as well, then.
Yeah.
If that's the way it works.
I think I'm telling that right.
Ms. Maxwell?
Ms. Rosales?
I understand Mr. Stan's point as a way of trying to save money, but at the same time, those buses can be used at any given time.
Right.
So at the end of the day, they would still need required insurance because, God forbid, if there was a bus out there that didn't have insurance, that's a huge risk, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think that will happen, but they will still need insurance.
Mr. Tidwell?
Mr. Reed, I got a question. I think, and maybe Stan can answer this too, y'all might have worked on this, but at the beginning, when you were coming up with this $4,000 number, you'd gotten quotes. And, I mean, is it fair to say that the quote was that you'd received back the $4,000 was going to cover, from the quotes that you got, it was going to cover?
Correct. I think there was, yes, I think $4,000 covered most bus contractors' cost. If you have a new bus, a 2025 bus, which is a more expensive bus, or maybe a 24, but I've seen the cost come in for 25 buses, and those have been the higher costs, and they've been $4,500, $4,600 is what I've seen come in since the board has acted with respect to the whole bus issue where people are going out and getting quotes on insurance. So I've seen their actual quotes come in, and for new buses, say 2025 models, they're coming in at $2,500, $2,600 level. So the older buses are a bit lower than that.
So is the variance, that apparently wide variance, does that got to do with driving record or?
I think age of buses, the cost of buses, how much you're insuring. Because, of course, to insure a $180,000 bus is going to be more than insuring a $100,000 bus.
Any other questions?
It's just a thought, don't you?
You've given us quite a thought. Okay, we can move on to 13, transportation.
And this is just our summer camp bus contract. What I just want the board to be aware of, and what my concern is that we're going to have summer bus routes running. We get into this whole, we're going to park our bus situation. I hate to mention, but I have to mention it out there because this is third grade retention, and I don't want kids potentially being held back because of that issue out there. So this is the bus contract for 2025 for summer camp for y'all to vote on so that we can then draw routes. So that's just a concern that I think has to be mentioned.
That is the month of June, right?
Correct.
Does not go in?
It does not, it's
All
junior.
right.
So, or it's enough that it's been mentioned, not just as it's something that we've gotten questions about.
14, financial report.
We're good. Yep.
Covered that.
Yep, we did.
Director's update?
Only thing I'll add is that we've had some questions from parents who I think have watched what's happened in the college football world with NIL and one-time transfers and believe that that applies to high school as well, and it does not. And so they think just because one-time transfers are allowed, you still have to have open seats. And so if open seats aren't available and published like we did our lottery already, then student can be in great standing at school A, but if they didn't apply for a choice seat and got in through the lottery, then they cannot go to school B unless they have a bona fide change of residence. And so that is something that we're going to hear a lot about because we started hearing rumblings already from coaches who they were worried about letting kids participate in spring practice because they were worried that kids were transferring to rivals, and you're not. I hate that we're there, but we're there, and so
Where it's going to be.
you have to have a bona fide change of residence to be able to move.
Yeah, I got several calls, and I had to be the bearer of bad news. Yep. I talked to Greg Wyatt, who is our TSSAA. We're not under, the college NIL. We have our own specific rules with TSSAA, while we still have TSSAA. And if the school is overcrowded, you can't.
Now, we do run into that whenever they have the social, the mental, and all that we're going to have to work through, but we're not going to throw that into the world yet until TSSAA puts that protocol into place. So that could be a cap.
Okay. Next we have, do you have anything, Mr. Vaught, under the Tennessee?
We have nothing this month. That's what my notification was from the Tennessee Legislative Network. They've all gone home.
Do we have anything other in general discussion? Oh, goody. Okay, then, Ms. Darby.
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned.